What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Deepish. Thanks for listening. Whether you always listen or this is your first time, thank you so much for listening. You know, I feel like there's a lot of things I want to say or need to say, and I can't think of anything great to say right now, so I'm not going to say anything too much. But I do want to mention, if you haven't yet, last week we had Parker Gray on, my friend Parker, and she just released a new single called Gas Station Flowers. Absolute freaking banger. So if you listened to last week's episode with Parker, or if you haven't yet, go back and listen to it. But make sure to go check out her new single, Gas Station Flowers, wherever you listen to music. If you buy singles, if you buy music, make sure to go buy it to support her. But yeah, great episode this week. Can't wait for you to hear my conversation with my friend Cody Prizer. He sat down a couple weeks ago. Cody is officially, our family calls him Dr. Prizer. We call him Uncle Dr. Cody as well. You know, one of the two names. But Cody just had he and his wife Madison just had their first baby boy. So Cody, congratulations, brother. Madison, congratulations. So happy for you all. We talk in this episode a lot about parenting. Came up a lot. You know, I think they had their son like a week and a half, if that, even after we recorded. So maybe it was a week later. I lose track. Regardless, they just had their first son. So really incredible episode talking about a lot of different stuff. So I'm not going to belabor the point too much, but I will say this, or belabor the intro. That's what I was thinking of. But I will say this. We're almost to the greatest time of year. It's officially March. And it's just, life is just getting better. It's getting warmer outside. Listen, you know, I've talked on this podcast. I love winter because I love Christmas. I love one good snow. This year we didn't get snow, we got ice. It was miserable, but I digress. But we're like 3 weeks away from March Madness starting. I think it's 2. And you know what comes after March Madness? The Masters at Augusta National. Arguably the greatest golf tournament in the world. And it's just it's just a fantastic time of year. So happy almost spring, happy almost March Madness, and happy almost Masters. Well, you know, I was thinking earlier today, I said I wasn't going to belabor the intro, but here we are. I might do a special episode, a special March Madness and Masters episode. Maybe it'll be solo. Maybe we'll bring a guest on. I haven't decided yet, but I'm thinking about doing it. But anyways, without any further ado, this is my conversation with my friend, Dr. Cody Prizer. What's up, everybody? We're back. Another episode of Deepish. Today, I am joined by, honestly, I think one of the most beautiful humans, and he's gonna like act very humble about this, but one of the most beautiful humans I think I've ever met. The list of accolades and accomplishments of your life, we'd be, and not just that, but the amount of things that you currently do, like right now, we'd be here for a while. You're a personal trainer, you're a physical therapist. You told me your new role in the medical field, and all I know is you're working with heart surgeons.
Yes.
And there's nuance with that I'm gonna get wrong. You were a professional wakeboarder, correct?
Yeah, I'm gonna
somewhat.
dumb that down.
Yeah.
It was
But
at the
I
high
mean,
school, but
yeah, for
competitive. We'll
the
put it
sake
that.
of my introduction of you, you were a professional wakeboarder. You are an unofficial team doctor for some Tennessee Titans, sort of. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but it's my podcast, so whatever. Like, Amy, if you hear this, I'm sorry. Whatever. But Dr. Cody Prizer, man, welcome to Deepish, bro.
Thanks for having me.
I feel like I literally only got like a portion of all of the things that you do and have done. But I want to start with this. I don't know if you remember this. I knew who you were. At the time we were going to the same church, had a lot of mutual friends. And I had heard of you because like you had just moved to town I think you had moved up here from Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And so heard of you or whatever. And I, at the time, you'd been here maybe like 6 or 8 months, maybe a little longer.
Yeah, it's probably.
And I was going through I was going to an orthopedic doctor because I had hurt my shoulder. This was 2022. I'd hurt my shoulder like January of 2020.
Mhm.
And like it had kind of bothered me off and on, and finally go see an orthopedic guy and who was awesome. His name was Jed. The only downside of him was he went to Chapel Hill, UNC Chapel Hill. So like we
Mhm.
fought all the time
Tough,
about Duke and Carolina.
tough.
It's a tough scene. But went to him, was going through the whole like steroid shot, it would help, and then it would kind of come back. And I was talking with somebody else that we both knew on a Sunday morning, and it was like, yeah, they want me to do surgery on it. And you like kind of like lean over and you're like, what's going on, bro? And I didn't know at the time that you were a PT, and you're like, dude, what's up? And I'm like, you're like, I had just gotten a MRI done, which if I never get another MRI as long as I live, I would be completely fine,
Oh, those are specifically bad because that was a dye injected one, I'm sure.
dude.
Those are rough.
And it was like, I'm not a claustrophobic person
Mm.
until you put me in a metal tube with something like half an inch from my
And a
face, and
very
all
pleasant sound.
yeah, and all you hear
Yeah.
is humming
Ga
for
ga
an
ga
hour and a
ga.
half.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, I remember the guy wheeling me in, and they're like, "Do you have any metal?" And I'm like, "No." And then I'm laying in the bed, and I'm like, "I have like fillings in my teeth or something," which like it's just in that moment you're
Right.
like freaking out. I'm like, "Am I
Yeah.
gonna die?" And,
Yeah.
and then the sound starts, but you're like, "Let me see your MRI." And you looked at me, you're like, "Dude, do not do surgery on your shoulder." I'm like, "Really?" You're like, "Yeah, just go." You're like, ask him if you can do PT, and then like go through that. And if it never gets better, then and at the time I was still like mid 20s, but that was my first interaction with you, and I was
Mm.
like, wow. And it was one of the you were one of the few doctors I've ever like interacted with in that setting. And not that there aren't other great doctors who were like not like, yeah, just get surgery and fix it and move on. You're like, dude, your shoulder will never be the same. Because I think I still technically have like minor tearing fluid, bicep tendonitis. I've got like a whole random
Sure.
slew of
Yeah.
things that are going on in there. But and then you also, unofficially call you my personal PT because when I have issues and I'm in my 30s, I'm like, I just text you. I'm like, Doc, what
I'll
do we
tell you,
think?
that's what I'm here for, and I think that's the cool part of what physical therapy is from, like, a knowledge standpoint, but
Yeah,
also the
right.
practice of it, because I think it's one of the rare practices that I mean, we're sitting on a couch right now. You
Yep.
can tell me about something that's going on with you, and we can talk through it, and just the conversation alone can move the needle on it, whether it's just
Mhm.
helping you understand, like, the mechanics or, um, the prognosis
Right.
or whatever it is. It's just
Yep.
like that alone, like, the psychology of it is really big, and I don't need anything but my hands to poke around, show you some movements, and do stuff like
That's
that, and that's
wild.
it's really unique and, from a clinical practice standpoint, like, that's one of the coolest things to be able to do is stand in front of somebody
Yep.
that is either fearful or, like, doesn't understand what's going on, or maybe understands it to a level, but, there's maybe some, like, points that there's just a disconnect or
Mhm.
something. You can talk through it and, uncover
Yeah,
that, and you
right.
can literally just have a conversation, and that's it, and literally not even touch somebody, and you spend an hour
Yeah.
plus per session with somebody multiple times a week. Like,
Mhm.
you just don't see that in with any other,
No. It's a
healthcare
very, like, unique
practice.
type of, medical practice, I think. And then I'll tell you a second story. Um, I remember we were joking with Roman before you got over here. I told him that because, like, our family calls you Dr. Cody or Dr. Prizer. I mean,
Yeah.
like, when I talk to you, it's Cody, but also, like, Doc. Doc is just one of the most, like it's one of the Josh and I talked about it when he was on. It's one of the coolest nicknames, I think, on the planet Earth. And it's so, like, if I can call someone Doc, I'm 1000% doing it. But Roman calls you Dr. Cody
I love it.
still. But we were joking with him. It was not long after you'd helped me, like, we had talked about my shoulder, and you're like, "Dude,
Mhm.
go do PT. If you need to come to me, you come to me, whatever. Like, just I wanna help you, like,
Yeah.
not go through this if you can."
Right.
Roman and I were at the trampoline park, and he, like,
Yeah. That's
stunted his
yeah.
neck.
Yeah.
And I text you, I was like, "Dude, are you gonna be around a moment?" You're like, "Yeah, 100%." I'm like, "Alright." Roman was, like, walking around like this, like, with the crink in his neck, and he's just like and I was joking, I'm like, "Dude, if it weren't for Dr. Cody, you'd still be walking around like this all the
Yeah.
time."
Oh,
And
yeah.
so, like, I brought him to you, and he would not let anybody near.
Mhm.
And I'm like, "Dude, let's go see Dr. Cody." And you're just like, "Alright, bud." And he did, like, 3 things with him, and then all of a sudden, he's, like, normal, and you're like, "Bro, just do these things a couple times a day, and you'll be good." But, like, that, though, I think is case in point, goes back to, like, what I was saying in the introduction, like, That is who you are as a human being. And I think that is why, like, you are one of the genuinely one of the best humans that I know, because at the end of the day, when it comes to whether it's your practice in physical therapy and like people, clients, patients you're seeing, or if it's in general, like you care about the person and them being well, whether that's physically, mentally, emotionally, like that's who you are. And I think that's like why I'm excited to sit down and talk with you about your journey in life. But man, it's an honor to have you here.
I appreciate that, man, and, yeah, it's I love helping people, and, I didn't get here overnight,
Yeah, for
and,
sure.
you know, it's took a lot of life to get to, mm, be be sitting here, but,
Yeah.
you know, you learn a lot,
Yeah.
and, it's, you know, for better or for worse.
Well, let me ask you a random question before we get into some of the nitty gritty. You recently had surgery on your knee.
Yeah,
You tore your ACL.
yeah.
Did you, was there something else, or is it just major, main,
I tore my ACL
primary?
meniscus,
Okay.
about this was in September, so 4 months ago,
Okay. So was it weird for you to go from being the physical therapist helping people to then being the patient? Because like you did your own PT, I'm assuming.
yes,
Yeah.
I'm still doing it.
Yeah.
I have somebody that I'm seeing that is keeping me,
Okay.
like, moving at the right pace,
Yeah.
but it's a weird thing, it happened in I mean, the board sport background and kinda all the athletics that I've
Mm-hmm.
done over the years, you know, about to turn 32, and so the fact that it's like I've evaded it for this long, I
Yeah.
had a
Yep.
weird piece about it when it happened,
Yeah.
um, but there is something, like, experiential to it
Mm.
where I've rehabbed so many people,
Yep.
you know, through, like, that post-op
Yep.
that process,
Right.
and it really puts it in perspective when you get to experience it, because
Yeah.
there's so many things that, like, you get taught and you talk people through, but
Mhm.
until you're really in the shoes of it and living it out,
Yeah.
it's very different, and so there's been
For
a
sure.
lot of that, and so, it is cool. It definitely gives me like, a different level of appreciation
Yeah.
for, like, what the experiencing side of it is, but man, it's, like, way different than I expected, you
Really.
know, it's like it's you know, the ACL is a ligament, so it's a
Mhm.
stabilizing ligament within your knee.
Okay.
It's not like a muscle or something that you can, like, contract and
Mhm.
control, but there's different ways that you can get that graft that they use for the ligament,
Mhm.
right? So it's like you can do a cadaver graft, um, you can do, harvest it from your own body. You
Mhm.
can do some type of, like, they have some new, you know, kind of bridge grafts that use
Yeah.
cells and certain things like
That's
that,
wild, dude.
but the harvesting of it's typically the patellar tendon graft, which is what I got. It's kinda
Mhm.
like the gold standard.
Okay.
But essentially what they do is they take a chip of bone off your tibia, they
Yep.
carve out a piece of your patellar tendon, and then take a chip of bone off of your
Jeez.
patella. And so that has been so much more of the discomfort and, like,
Yeah.
the rehab of it,
Yep.
that I wouldn't say I underestimated,
Yep.
but, like, living it out, I'm like, I mean, that's like 90% of what the,
Yep.
like, misery has
J
been.
Will that wear off over time, or is
Yeah, I
it
mean,
just
you
like
just you treat
you
it.
get
It
used to it in a
Yeah, and
sense?
it's really exposed to me how much of, like, you know, the rehab process for it is really rebuilding the confidence around the leg from, like,
Mhm.
a 30,000-foot view, like,
Yeah.
you're really starting from scratch, you're getting range of motion back, you're waking muscles up within your leg, you're learning how to walk, and then you're kind of, like, building it
Like
back up.
elementary things
Yeah, it's
in
just
a
you're just
sense.
putting reps. It's
Yep.
like a lot
Right.
of it's a lot of reps, but all that to say, like, there's a tissue treatment that you're doing as well, which is like you're rehabbing that graft
Mhm.
site, and so there's different
Crazy.
considerations, so it's like you really have to, like, rehab that patellar
Mhm.
tendon, um, and that's been, like, the big point of emphasis, you
Yeah.
know, at least up until this point. I think I'm 8 weeks
I was gonna ask
post-op this week.
how far
Yeah,
post-op are
this
you?
week, about 8 weeks,
Well,
yeah.
and so you also, um, you just 8 weeks ago had your ACL repaired or replaced,
Mhm.
and then you're also getting ready to be a dad. So,
Yeah.
like, you really just, like, are stacking up, like, major
I
life-changing
started a new
medical
job.
events.
So what was
And you
funny about
started a new
the
job.
injury
Yeah.
is I think maybe a week after I accepted a new role,
Yep.
they're like, "Hey, so we thought you were gonna be able to start at the end of August.
Okay.
Um, it's actually gonna be the end of September." And so it's
Okay.
like beginning of September, I'm out on the lake. And so I was like, "I got a month,
Yeah,
I'm gonna
just
get some stuff out
enjoy
of my
it, bro.
system, get some
Yeah.
golfing in, get on the lake." And, uh, and yeah, injure myself, out on the lake, on, like, a Wednesday afternoon,
It's
and then I got to
just
call them, and
chilling.
they knew Madison,
Yep.
the baby was coming this through the whole hiring process, which was really cool.
Yeah.
But then I gotta be like, "Yeah, now we gotta schedule a surgery in here as well." And, I mean, it's been an absolute blessing. They've
Yep.
been extremely supportive through the whole thing, and awesome new role. And so, yeah, so it's been getting a surgery scheduled around a lot of onboarding and a
Yep.
really long training process with this new role. Getting it done and rehab to a point where when baby comes and
Yeah.
wife is down.
So we and you'll be off work for
Yeah.
a little bit?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, which
Mhm.
is nice.
For sure.
Dude, that's I mean, and this is your first.
First.
Not man, I don't care how many kids you have, nothing prepares you for it. Like, nothing prepares you for like, fortunately, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this on the podcast, but it's my own podcast, so I don't give a damn. Fortunately with Harvey, or Tori's breastfeeding, and so, like, she wakes up to feed him at
Yeah.
night, and then but, like last night, we're recording this at, whatever, it's January, last night, Roman comes to our bed at, like, 1, and Tori was trying to or it was 2, Tori was trying to feed Harvey. He's he's, like, sleeping through it, and she's like, "Dude, I need you to eat. I am dying right now. You need to eat." And he's screaming bloody murder at her because he's like, "I don't wanna eat." And Roman's, like, flip-flopping, screaming, or, like, pissed because Harvey's not sleeping, and Harvey's screaming. And it's just I'm like and so I'm like, I'm the type of person when if you wake me up in the night, I'm just up,
Yeah.
like, for
Yeah.
a while. But all that to say, nothing prepares you for going from, like, no kids to a kid. Like, in all of the best ways possible. It's just, like, you just have to experience it.
Well, I think, yeah, I've had a lot of people kind of ask that
Mhm.
they're like, "You ready?"
Yeah.
And it goes back to kind of we were talking about, with expectations.
Yep, right.
In like, I mean, I'm as ready as I can be, right?
I
And I think when you
Yep.
kinda you paint this picture in your head of, like, what it's supposed to be or what it's gonna be,
Dude,
it's not gonna be that way. And so it's
no,
my
it's
thing is
not.
like, I've I've prepared,
Yep.
could always prepare more, certainly could have
Yeah.
prepared less,
Yeah,
but, like,
100%.
it is what it is, and, like, it's not a fast process, you know what I
No,
mean? Like, it
it's
happens
not,
quick,
dude.
but then, I hear everybody, it's like, you leave the hospital and then you kinda, like, come home and you're just like, "Well, now what?"
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
you kinda figure it out, and
You did.
so,
And, like, you and Madison are one, like, incredible humans too. So, like, that I feel like sounds so, like, maybe elementary, but, like, if you're a good human being, the odds of you figuring out how to be a good parent are higher. Like, and, like, you both are genuine, caring humans. Like, to your point, though, the thing that kills me, like, I've been a dad for 8.5 years, almost. The thing that kills me is when people are having kids and they're like, "Oh, I can't wait to do blah, blah," and I look at 'em like, "Yeah, dude, good luck."
yeah.
Like, I just and I'm not trying to be hateful. It's
Sure.
just, like,
Just the reality of it.
it's the reality of, like, when you have a newborn and a young kid, like,
Mhm.
you don't dictate their schedule.
Yeah.
Like, you don't dictate when a newborn eats and when a newborn
Right.
doesn't eat. Like,
Yeah.
they will tell you, and you're going to be in misery until you give them what they want.
Yeah.
And that is just I
Yeah.
you are and like that, then you hit a point where they get 6, 7 months old or a little before, and, like, you're able to get them in a routine on a schedule
Yeah.
and all of that, but it's just like, dude,
Yeah.
then what
When
but
I definitely outkicked my coverage, with Madison, and
yeah,
she's been, I mean, a rock star through this whole process, but
yeah,
just knowing that it's like, I mean, it's a team event, and, when
right,
you got your best friend by you, and it's just
dude,
like,
yep,
buckle up. This is gonna be an experience,
yep,
but, she's got a great set of parents on her side, and,
yeah,
I've got 2 fantastic parents, and,
yep,
the hard part is like you kinda see that and you see how, I'm fortunate to, have had, a great life
mhm.
that really was on the back of, good parenting, and I
Dude,
see
oh,
how
yeah,
she turned out, same thing with her, and it's
yep,
like, man, it's like the stress on me is that it's like I wanna give,
Yep.
my son that same
Yep.
opportunity, and it's the same kinda thing you remind yourself, it's like, you know, Rome wasn't built in a day,
No,
right? And it's just like it
literally.
takes a process, you're gonna mess up,
Yep.
like,
And
that's
that
okay,
is that though is
that's
the
okay.
hardest thing about I think specifically being a dad, because it's like this might be like what's the word I'm looking for? Like an unpopular opinion, but like dads are the unsung rock of the household. It is easy. I think it's often easier to because like so with Tori, like she's breastfeeding, she's up all night. Like it's easy to like acknowledge and celebrate and champion and encourage her in what she's doing. But it's like the flip side of that is as the dad is like you then help keep everything afloat and
Yeah.
flowing in that. And so all of that says like that is not an attack on moms or women in any regard. It's just the flip side is as a dad, it's so freaking easy to you lay down. Like, dude, I almost every night, it's like I lay down, I'm like, what could I have done better today?
Yeah.
And you go, oh, I could have been more present with Roman. I was more focused on emails or editing the pod
Well,
or
I think it's a unique thing because at least, like, for myself, like, I've played sports my whole life, so
yep.
it's been a lot of, like, achieve, strive, work towards something like that,
Hmm.
but this is really, like, something that comes into your life that, like, in this realistically, like, first phase, it's like, I mean, it's completely hands off. Like, I
Yep.
can't breastfeed.
Nope.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's like, I can't get sleep for her.
Yep.
Like, I can't pump. I can't do that stuff.
All
And
those
so
things.
it's such a weird dynamic where, there's this success that you chase and you provide and you do all these things to, be the rock of the house,
Mhm.
but then it kinda comes up and you're just like, I can't, I can't do this. Like,
Yep.
that's not,
Dude, I
and
know.
so it's like, you really, it really puts in perspective how picking a partner is like truly
Oh,
like
100%.
something that, like, I'm lucky that I had a lot of good counsel that,
Yep.
really was like encouraging as far as like this is what a partner looks like. A lot of good
Yep.
examples around you. Um, for that when Madison came around, it's like,
Dude,
I
it's
mean,
it
that
checks
was an easy
all the
decision, right?
boxes, dude, and I've said this to people, it's like, I don't think there's any more important decision you make as an adult than who you marry.
Yeah,
Like, careers come and go, money comes and goes, all of that stuff is so fleeting, but, like, if you choose the right person to be your partner in life,
yeah.
like, I mean, and you and Madison have been married just over 2 years, right? Almost 3?
Uh, 23, so we're coming up on 3.
Okay.
Yeah, let
So
me do that. Do the
you've
math.
been married long enough to have gone through shit together
Yeah,
and gone through difficult times and where you're pissed at each other in the process, but, like, if it weren't for each other, you're not making it out
yeah,
alive.
yeah,
And that is and then I was gonna say this a second ago, but when it comes to, like, you talk about, like, you've got your parents and the parents she has, and then, her having her as a partner. I think one of the things that increases your love for your partner, if it can, is then going through the journey of parenthood with them.
yeah,
And you just because you sit back and you're like, you're gonna go through this process with Madison, you're gonna be like, I don't know how you did it,
yeah.
but, like, the admiration and and then watching them be a mom is just
It's cool.
dude, it's
It's,
so sick.
yeah, and I mean, like, kind of how, gosh, 2025 was, like, a pretty
Mhm.
wild year. There's a lot of life change.
Yeah.
I mean, you could put it on paper and you need 2 sheets to,
Yep.
capture it all, but, like, the way it happened is it's truly something that was, like, ordained from, like, a timing
Yeah.
standpoint where you're just like, "This is a new season of life," and it's like we're walking through this together,
Yep.
um, you know, whether we like it or not, it's just like,
One and
this is what we're marching towards.
some of it's, like, out of your control, like, even, like, becoming parents, yes, it's in your control, but it's also completely out of your control,
Yeah.
like, when it happens and timing and goes back to, like, we were saying, like, you're never ready to be a parent, dude,
No.
it's like and that's why, like, when the time comes, you figure it out, and I promise you will, like,
Yeah.
it's going to be hard.
Yeah.
It's and I think that you talk about, like, having your son and how, like, early on, like, being such a, like, success, achievement, accomplishment driven, like, in your life up to this point. I think one thing that makes parenting uniquely difficult is that you don't really know if you've succeeded as a parent until they're grown.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And so it's like all you can do, like for me, like my prayer is like I raised Roman and we raised Roman and Harvey. It's like I just want to do my best to instill the right values in you,
Yeah,
help you build the right character traits, help you build integrity, help you know right from wrong, so that when you are not in my house anymore,
yeah,
you know the right things to do. But I won't know if I've done that until
right.
you get there.
Well, I think
And
there's some that kind of, you have to own it, but you also have to accept that it's like, I mean, the same way it goes with anything. It's like I can't learn something for you,
yep,
right? It's like
100%.
I can do my best to support and put opportunities in front of you to potentially like have that
Yep.
that outcome or that lesson be learned. But at the end of the day, it's like, you know, like you, you just lean on your experiences
Mhm.
and the things that you value
Yeah.
and just trust that like it's a process,
Yeah.
right? It's going to be up and down. It's far from linear, and it's going to be something where I understand that I'm learning
Yep.
right alongside this little dude that is going to
Ye
enter in the world, and it's
Bro,
something that I just got to be
100%.
try to be one step ahead of where he
Yep.
is, and that's where, it took a lot of the stress of, like, the expectation and of, like, I gotta have it all figured out because it's
Mhm.
like, I don't have to have 5 years old figured out.
No, dude.
Like, I don't
And
have
it
I got 5
and
years to figure
in
that
every
out.
season of parenting is uniquely difficult. And but you said
Mm,
something that we'll shift gears here in a second, but I'm enjoying this conversation, so we'll stay here for a minute. But I think I talked about this on a different episode. Like at some point, like I haven't even recorded that many yet, and somewhere along the lines, like I just
you're a conversationalist, so things blur.
yeah,
Like, it's
and
okay.
I know I've said the same thing on so many episodes. Like my big thing that somehow always comes up is we talk like because I've had musicians and stuff on, is like somehow always end up talking about how much I hate that we've become a generation of singles and rather than albums, but I digress. And like I've talked about it on like 5 different
See,
episodes.
I'm not like I'm so removed from music that I had to think
Yeah,
about what you even meant with singles to
yeah,
albums, but, like, okay.
yeah. So, but I'm trying to remember who I'd talked about this with. So whoever it was, I'm sorry, it was memorable. I just don't remember that it was with you. But you talked about how this is your first time going through all of this as
Yeah,
well. And I, one of my biggest, I don't want to say complaints because I don't know that that's the right word. One of my biggest, I think, sticking points and frustrations when it comes to our generation of people talking about generational or like trauma and childhood trauma
mhm.
and healing from all of that and all of that stuff is, and I'm not, this is not like if you're listening to this and like you have childhood trauma, like please understand I'm not attacking you or saying it's not valid or not real.
Yeah,
But I think what we struggle as children of parents who become adults to realize
yeah,
is it was also their first time
right,
being parents, the same way
for
it
sure.
was our only time being a kid.
Oh, yeah.
And so, like, I think if we can do anything well in the process of unpacking childhood trauma,
Mhm.
it's like, and you don't realize that until you become a parent, and you don't have an appreciation for it, and the perspective of like my parents literally did the best they could with what they knew in that moment, in that season. Whether
Yeah,
and even I think parents who were quote unquote bad parents, they were trying to do the best they could. They just maybe didn't have the best cards dealt to them in
yeah,
life.
yeah. I mean, I
And
look at my brother and his childhood, and I'm just like, man, I'm sure there's some nights that my parents went in the room like, man, like, I'm just glad they're still
oh,
alive.
dude,
Like,
100%. Like, I mean,
but again, it's like, like, it's a process, it's a
yep.
journey, and, Madison always looks at me, and she's just like, "Gosh, like, we're just kids, like, how are we gonna, like,
Dude,
raise a kid?" And it's just like,
100%.
that's the coolest perspective my uncle, uh and I don't remember if it came from my uncle, my dad adopted it, but, like, one of his favorite sayings is, like, like, "Getting old is mandatory, but growing up is optional." And
Yeah.
so You know,
Dude.
it's just it's a cool thing to live by because it's like my hope and one thing that like I'll always cherish about my relationship with my dad is that it's always been activity filled.
Yeah.
And so like getting to share all these experiences that I can like look back on that like I
Oh,
did with him
dude.
from just starting sports and trips and just different things like that that it's like I hope I'm still a kid
Yep.
when I get to do life
Well,
with my son.
and, like, you fortunately, like, I mean, dude, I was 23 when we had him. So, like, I literally was a genuine child
Yeah.
when we had him. But, like, one of the coolest things, because like, I'm like you, like, I'm my mom or dad are gonna text me and say this because, like, I somehow talk about them somewhere in the intro or the episode every week, and I get a text from one of the 2 of them. Like, I got one from my dad before we recorded, but, like, my dad and I, like, my whole childhood was, like, we were in the gym with basketball or we were on a golf course.
Mhm.
And so we were together all the time.
Yeah.
And so now as an adult, like, my favorite thing to do is play golf with my dad.
Yeah.
Or, like, when it comes to sports and stuff, it's like or, like, whatever it is, like, we'll call each other and be like, "Hey, did you watch the basketball game last night?" And it's like, and but so then as a parent, one of the one of the coolest experiences is when your kid gets old enough to love what you love
Yeah.
on their own choice
Yeah.
and ask you to do it. Like, one of the best things to do was like, "Dad, when can we go play golf again?" It's like, wait till your son goes,
Yeah.
"Dad, can we go on the boat?" It's just like and nothing there's nothing sweeter than that, and then it's like then you get to watch them experience
Yeah.
it and watch them, like, do well with it,
Yeah.
and then the pride they develop, like, I told Roman, so, like, we just bought the house on 3 acres, like, 6 months ago, 7 months ago. I told Roman when we moving up here, I'm like, "Dude," I'm like, "I wanna get you a dirt bike or a four-wheeler, one of the 2, but my rule is that if I'm going to do that, you've got to be confident in riding a bike without training wheels and be able to do it on your own because, like, that's my rule."
Yeah.
And he's like, "I don't want to, I don't want to." I'm like, "All right, dude, well, that's whenever you're ready." So it was the last night of his Christmas break. And I was like, "All right, dude, let's go outside. You're gonna learn today." And he's like, "I don't want to." I'm like, "Dude," and I took the training wheels off. I'm like, "You don't need the freaking training wheels." Because I think training wheels create a dependency that actually don't help you learn how to ride a bike, but I do
Yeah. Oh,
this.
yeah.
So I'm like, "Here, dude." I'm like, "Here's what we're gonna do." I'm like, I'm gonna hold it. I'm gonna help you pedal. You're gonna learn it, and then I'm gonna let you go." And so he did it, and he's holding his balance up, all this stuff. So we go up on the sidewalk. I'm like, "All right, dude, go." And he rides 5 feet by himself, and he's like, then the look that your kid gives you when they realize they can do something,
Mhm.
there's nothing sweeter.
Yeah.
Like, he turns and looks at me of like, "Dad, are you proud of me?" And
Yeah.
it's just freaking
Yeah.
melts you, bro.
Oh,
And so then the next day, he's like, "Dad, can we go outside and ride my bike?" It was still warm. And I'm like, "All right, sick." Well, I end up Harvey falls asleep on me. Tori's like, "I'll come with you. Like, go ahead. I'll meet you out there." He's like, "I just need someone to hold the bike up so I can start." Bro, she walks out there 5 minutes later. He is on
he's
his
just
bike
going.
by himself, just riding in circles.
Amazing.
And so it's like, all that says, like, your kid learning and, like, you being able to, like, go through that with them. Oh, and then the pride they get in themselves when they
Yeah.
accomplish something. Gosh, dude, it freaking wrecks you. I wanna go back though. You talked about, like, your childhood a little bit. You're born and raised in Florida.
Mhm.
Which why you ever left, like, I understand, because I'm hear me out. I'm a seasons guy.
Yeah.
Like, I love Florida. You know me, 30A is, like,
Yeah.
my favorite place on
Oh,
planet
yeah.
Earth.
Off the beach, barefoot, can't beat it.
Dude, no, not one bit. Like, that is one of my dreams in life is just to be a member at a country club where I can just go play golf barefoot and
Oh,
no
yeah.
one gives a flip.
Oh, yeah.
But also speaking of Florida, shout out Duvin. I meant to say that to start. We're literally both wearing like 90% Duvin right now. So, if any of the Duvins ever see this, is that their last name?
No, it's not.
Well, you know what? In my book, it is. So if any of the Duvins ever see this, I will gladly welcome you as the first sponsor of this podcast. It would make I would make my life because we were talking about this before. Greatest swimming trunks on planet Earth. My favorite hats. Shout out Elvis Presley. I mean, anyways, I digress. So, born and raised in Florida.
Yeah.
Were you born and raised on the water? Essentially, like, did you spend the greater majority of your childhood?
Yeah, my parents are from up north, so they met in
Were they
Orlando.
really?
Yeah, yeah, my dad's from Michigan, my mom's from Long Island.
Does that mean your dad's a Wolverine fan?
Michigan State.
Alright, I can deal with that. They
Yeah.
suck at everything, so
Uh,
they
um,
don't suck at basketball.
yeah, and, so they meet down
And where was
in,
your mom from?
Long Island. She grew
Dang,
up in Brooklyn.
no way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And she grew up in, like, a sick era of growing up in
Yeah,
Alabama too.
yeah, her side of the family's, they got some stories. It's
Oh my
yeah.
god, I bet.
Um,
I bet it's
and
awesome
so
too.
yeah, so grew up in Orlando,
Okay.
and a lot of my earliest memories were around the water. I
Really?
think they lived in a condo when I was born, and it was on Lake Maitland. And when my brother came, we
Mhm.
moved into a house not far away, but anywhere in Orlando. I mean, you go
Yeah.
2 miles in any direction and you hit a different body of water.
Yeah.
And so,
That's, like, all that Orlando has going for it. Let's
oh
be
yeah,
real.
it's flat and a lot of still bodies of water that super clean.
A very, very clean water
Yeah,
in Orlando.
super clean.
It's like 90% Disney World, and the other 10% is
It's
just water.
ponds,
Yeah,
just still stagnant, like
it's it's so
dirty
real.
water,
It's
whatever.
it's
Hey,
so
I mean,
accurate.
yeah. So, yeah, I grew up going on the lake. We had a boat that we kept in like a dry storage.
Mhm.
So like, this big forklift thing would like pick it up and put it on.
I'm 31. I still think those are the coolest things in the
Wow,
world.
it was super cool. And I always thought it was super cool. It's like, Dad, can you call and have them put the boat in the water, and they'd drop it in.
Dude,
But
that's so cool
yeah,
though.
so we'd go out and we do a lot of tubing, and we would
Mhm.
just have these like boat days where we
Yep.
were out there. And at the time I didn't really realize like how foundational that
Mhm.
was just for um I mean, one, spending time with my family,
Yeah.
but then two, kind of like what it was gonna do for like the things that I like really gravitated towards.
Mhm.
Because it's like ultimately kind of how I found the like activities that I did was really just kind of a journey of like things just grabbing my attention. So,
Really.
it's like I started on the lake, and then you start with organized sports and t-ball. And
Mhm.
the biggest blessing, I'll say one of them, of my parents and how they raised me, is like they were always encouraging and supportive of like whatever I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And so, like one of the first like sports, if you will,
Mhm.
that I did outside of like t-ball
Mm.
was rock climbing.
No
And
way.
so, yeah, and
That's
so
cool.
I must have been like 6, and there's a rock gym,
Yep.
and you know, for parents of a 6-year-old,
Yep.
just yeah, you can go climb on whatever you want in here, right? And
Dude.
it was just a box, put them in there. And
Yep.
it was super cool. And again, I think it did a lot just for me to just get
Mhm.
energy out.
Yep.
And so it just
Were you
kind
a
of,
wildly energetic kid?
I wasn't like a terror
Yep.
from an energy
Mhm.
standpoint, but I think a lot of that had to do with just the outlets that I found.
Yep.
And so whether that was riding the bike around the neighborhood, like
Yep.
playing basketball, swimming, like you name it, like
Yeah, right.
we
That makes
had we
sense.
had the bat or the frisbee or the ball in the
You were outs
garage.
that is like, I'm a overly nostalgic person, but that is, like, I think one of the greatest things about the era of life we grew up in the
Yeah,
late '90s, early 2000s,
yeah,
is that, like, we were outside
mhm, all
all
the
of
time.
the time.
Yeah,
And I think it was, like, some of that was I saw something recently where somebody was joking about, like, like, the childcare like, our parents didn't need childcare because in the summers, it was just like, your mom was like, "Go outside, I'll see you at dinner time."
yeah, come in when the street lights turn on.
Yep, coming in but, like and so it's like they didn't need childcare because it was that. But
Right.
all that to say is, like, I think there was probably a piece of that that's, like, our parents weren't as worried about, like,
Yeah.
what we were doing and all like,
It was
I don't
different for
know.
sure. I
Yeah.
mean, obviously, like, I couldn't imagine, I mean, in some ways, like, really being a kid right now.
No,
It's
I
like the
couldn't either.
freedoms that we had to just, like, go outside
Yep.
and just explore, um, what was, I mean, really hard to describe, but
Oh, yeah.
that was
Right.
foundational, and
Yep.
just, like, life lessons, like, socially, like, one of the like, the biggest impressions of something my dad taught me when I was younger is the younger you are when you learn a lesson, the lesser the consequences.
Mm.
So, we had a
Yep.
lot of freedom as far as, like, you get your schoolwork done, you do what you gotta do, and that's kinda, like, carried all the way
Yeah.
through high school, but it was really like, you get if you get your shit done, like,
Yep.
you kind of have the flexibility to
Yeah.
do the things you wanna do,
Yep.
and so, from a young age, that was really just kind of, like, encouraging as far as, like, "Okay, well, it's like, let's try this sport, let's do that sport,"
Yeah.
and so, yeah, it was yeah, growing up in Florida, yeah.
Dude, I feel like growing up in Florida, did you all ever live near the beach? Or were you in
No.
Orlando the whole
No,
time?
so I'd say from where like, the condo I lived in,
Mhm.
like, where my parents lived in when I
Yeah.
was born, to the house that they're still in is probably only 4 miles tops. Uh,
Okay, hear me out then. I feel like if I was going to live in Florida, I wanna live in a beach town.
I agree, and, I mean, my goal is end up at the beach,
Yeah, 100%,
and
dude.
so I was fortunate that, my parents made it possible to get out on the water.
Yep.
But when, 'cause I went to grad school in St. Augustine, and
Mhm.
so that was my first real, like, opportunity to be, like, I mean, a stone's throw from
Oh, yeah.
access to the ocean
Yeah.
and doing that.
Yep.
Like, and what I, like, experienced there is something that
Mhm.
is just, like, it's so hard to describe
Yep.
if you've never, like, had that kind of proximity to the ocean,
Yep.
but it's something that, like, when my kids are old enough to really be influenced by their surroundings,
Yep.
like, I want them to be at the beach, because
Dude,
when I look at,
oh my
like,
gosh.
the experiences that I had, like, just the freedom of just roaming around a neighborhood and just,
Yeah.
like, wreaking havoc, like,
Mhm.
it's not that you can't do that now, it's just, like,
It's
if
very
we can
different,
go to
dude.
the beach
Yeah.
and just let a kid just be a kid in the
Yep.
water playing with whatever you bring to the beach and pushing him into waves and swimming
Yep.
and taking the boat out and fishing and doing stuff like that, like, it really is, like, I mean, it's an untapped potential
Yeah.
of just things you can do, whereas,
Yeah.
like, I feel, where we are, like, in Nashville, it's like it's a little too, like, kinda, you know like, if you have access to land and you can
Yep.
go explore, then, like, that's
Yep.
awesome, but, like, water is
Yeah,
really,
you have
like,
to
a
pay
calming.
$1,000,000 to get it now,
Yeah, and
which
that's
we did not pay for our little slice of 3 acres.
no,
I
but
just wanna make that
but you have
clear.
your peace, you have
Yeah,
space to
correct.
do what you wanna do,
Yep.
and, like, that's an awesome
The
thing to give Rome
Oh my
and, like,
gosh,
and
I
Harvey
know.
is, like, that type of just,
Yep.
"Hey, like, leave your toys out,
But
like, go play," like,
dude,
that's an awesome thing.
you're when it was warm out, Roman was outside literally every day.
Awesome.
And, like, the thing we've had to, like, instill in him of, like, because we pretty much know all of our neighbors,
Yeah.
and, like, we're not, like, secluded from the standpoint of, like, away from everything, but, like, we have a lot of privacy, and our neighbors, like, they're angels, dude. They literally on, like, the week after Christmas, I see him walking up our back deck, and he, like, knocks on the door. I'm like, "Mark, what's up?" He goes, "It's sitting at the house, and she told me it was for you all for Christmas. I forgot to bring it to you." Dude, they got us two ornaments that said, like, were basically one said, like, something about it was like first Christmas at our new house, which was so thoughtful. But the other one was said, neighbors are like stars. You don't always see them, but you know they're always there. And it
That's
was
awesome.
just like the sweet,
Yeah,
like most, like they came over for Thanksgiving dinner. They came over and had Christmas
that's
dinner with
awesome.
us. And the wife Carol, who I just adore, both of them. Mark's my buddy. I just go hang out with him.
Yeah.
But he and she was like, we were sitting there, and she's like, I just told Hope their daughter. She's like, we couldn't have had AI make better neighbors than you.
Huh.
Which is I died laughing. But like all of that to say, I digress telling that. They are the world's best neighbors. But we had to encourage him, like, dude, because at our old house, we did not want him outside
Yeah.
by himself.
Yeah.
Like no shot in
Yeah.
the dark, bro. Here I'm like, bro, go. Everyone here knows you now.
Yeah.
Like everyone on this like a neighbor who like I had met once. Mark and I were replacing spark plugs on the truck right before Thanksgiving, and he comes over and goes, "How's the baby?" He's like, "How's Harv doing?" I'm like, "How do you know this?" But, like, I hadn't told him, and it's
Yeah.
just like and so but to your point, it's like, having this land and this, like, piece of heaven,
Yeah.
I'd never wanna get rid of it, but I wanna own a beach house. Because everyone who tells me, like, "You'll never go to the beach if you live there," I'm like, "You don't know me." Because if you think every day I'm not going to end up on the beach with a cigar and a bourbon or a glass of wine
Yeah.
and just watch the like, I don't know that they're my favorite thing when we go on vacation every summer with my family down to 30A, and every day at 6 o'clock, 6:30, we're on the beach. I'm not a big, like, sit on the beach all day guy
Yeah.
because, like,
Middle of the day, it
it's
can be a
just
little miserable.
it's a little miserable and, like,
Yeah.
we always have a house with a pool where we can kick it, and it's
Yeah.
easier with kids and
Yeah.
but dude, for the last 3 hours of the day as the sun sets, I don't know there's anything more peaceful and better than
When
sitting on the beach.
and there's something just about, like, I'm not the I'm not big on, like, energy and, like,
Yeah.
vibe and stuff like that, but, like, you go to a beach town, it's different. Like,
Yeah.
it's intangible. It's just different,
Yep.
and it's until you experience it, you don't get it, and, you know, I guess it was 2 years, 2.5 years in St. Augustine.
Mhm.
I mean, you talk about a slow town, but it
Dude,
was the best. I
that'd be
mean,
a oh my gosh.
it was
Yeah,
amazing,
30A unfortunately is no longer a slow down.
and it's something that it changes
Yep.
what the town is,
Yep.
but it's still the water, and it's still peaceful, and
Oh,
when it
yeah.
comes to, like, what that just does for, like, my, like, inner well-being, I
Oh my
mean, it
gosh.
is
Dude, there's a reason why Tori I don't know if you've ever heard Tori say this or not, but she jokes that I have 3 seasons of life. Like, and she's like, "You have Christmas Jake, you have birthday Jake, and you have beach Jake." And his whole year revolves
that's
around one of
funny.
those
Well,
3.
because I know you're a big Christmas guy. I do
Huge
know
Christmas
that.
guy, dude. And, like but I don't like as much as I love Christmas, and I do, like I mean, our Christmas lights are still on our house right now,
That's
they're just
awesome.
turned off because it's been freezing, I'm not taking
Yeah,
them down.
no,
But, like, I don't know that I am, like, more just, like, chill, go with the flow, just having the time of my life than at the beach.
well, I mean, it's one of those, like, the vibration of it,
Yep,
like, you just fall into that,
yep,
and until you experience, like, what that is,
yep.
it's a
Oh,
weird thing to try to
this
describe to somebody.
I don't know if you've ever heard this or not, but you know what I think a big reason why is because I'm literally barefoot the whole time I'm there. And there's like the grounding thing or something like that. My life coach 2 years ago was like or almost 3 years ago when I quit the job that I had. She was like she called me and she's like, "Listen." So I think we had a session like the day after I quit. She's like, "Listen, if you feel the need to just like drink yourself into oblivion because of like everything you're going through, she's like, I need you to put all of your devices away. I need you to walk away from your bourbon collection, take your shoes off, and go stand outside in the grass. I'm like, what are you talking about? She's like, I promise you,
Yeah,
you need to do it.
yeah,
And like, now, granted, I never had the need to like, I
yeah,
felt the need to drink myself into oblivion, but
yeah,
like, all
good,
that to say,
yeah.
it's like, but I wonder how much of that is the case. Like, why when you're at the beach, you're literally the happiest because like you're just walking around in the sand or on the grass.
The sand, the sun, like,
Oh
that
my gosh,
there
dude.
there's I mean, the sun's a big part of it,
Yep.
and,
You never sleep better either than when you're at the beach.
the little sunburn, the
Oh,
warmth, and the cold bed.
dude, and there's nothing like the end of the day at the beach. You take a shower, you clean yourself off, and then you just crawl in bed.
Yeah.
And but rental houses always have the most comfortable
Oh,
beds
yeah,
with the
and the
best
best,
sheets.
like, wall air conditioning
Oh,
units that just get
dude,
so cold.
it's the freaking
Yeah,
best.
yeah,
And then like if you're lucky, you just like crack a window and listen to the ocean.
yeah. But, like, all that
Oh
to say,
man.
like, kinda back to what I was saying is, like, I want my kid
Yep.
to experience that
Yeah.
because, like, for what it's been to me to, like, understand what you can get from your surroundings
Yeah.
is huge, and
Oh yeah,
how much
absolutely.
that, like, really, like, does a lot for just, like, finding peace and, like, grounding yourself,
Yep.
and just kind of, like, going to, like, surfing. It's been a, like, later in life hobby,
Yeah.
but, like, there's nothing better than going in the water right as the sun's coming up,
Oh,
and it's a little bit cold, you're a little bit chilly, that
yeah.
sun breaks, you're staring at the sun, it starts to warm you up, you know, dolphins pop up, there's 10 strangers you've never met sitting in there next, and you just have the moment. There could be no waves,
Yep.
and you just sit there for 45 minutes,
Yep.
just, like, swimming around, and it is the
See,
absolute
I
best
just
way to
don't know
start
that
your day.
when I was a kid, I thought I could do surfing. Now I'm like just scared enough of what could be under the surface of the water. But I feel like at some point in time, that's just like the risk of life. Is like there's
100%.
something could go wrong in everything you
Oh,
do.
and that's like it's a rational fear,
Yeah.
and, the unique thing is with surfing compared to any other sport,
Yep.
especially, like, professionally,
Mhm.
it's the only sport that you have a
My son almost
genuine
just came through
yeah,
the door.
I know, right there. I saw some of the dust
Yeah.
come down. But it's like, it's the only sport where you have like, a genuine risk of being attacked by an animal,
Yep.
and there's something that is just very, again, like, grounding as
Yep.
far as, like, being in some other animal's natural habitat, and, like, you spend enough time in the water, like, you see some crazy stuff,
Oh, I bet.
and
Yeah, I bet you
it's
have.
really cool because it just makes you feel like you're like, "Wow," like, we're on land, like, humans are apex predators, like,
Yeah.
we've put so many things, like, into endangered lists and, like, really, for better, for worse, like, in certain way like,
Yep.
it's just the impact that humans have had
Mhm.
on, like, our environment, but, like, you get in the ocean, man, like, you're in another world, in another animal's domain, and
Yep.
there's not a lot
Which is what's so
uh,
wild to me about the fact that's like the place we vacation is like it's the most like I think the ocean is more terrifying than space.
yeah. I mean,
Because like although there is a lot of unknown in space, there is a whole lot of unknown
right,
in the ocean.
yeah.
Which is just speaking
It's
of
cool,
space.
yeah,
So Roman's got to do this is awful, and someone's gonna get so mad for saying this. I don't care. I think it's funny. Roman's got to do this like historical figure project,
yeah.
and he was pissed because he wanted to do Dale Earnhardt so freaking bad, and
Who
it's
shot that down?
and well, Dale Earnhardt's give you a list of approved
Oh, okay.
people, and
Fair,
Dale's not
fair.
on it, but you know who is on it is Neil Armstrong, and
Mm,
I said Roman, I said that's a perfect one. You can be Neil Armstrong, and then go in and say Neil Armstrong wasn't actually the first person on the moon because we haven't been to the moon yet.
man, I have some people that would just love to have that
Oh, I
conversation
know.
with
And
you.
like the thing with me is I'm like, I don't care. I just like a lot of those things like that, those like niche
Yeah,
hot topic. I just
yeah.
think it's hilarious
It's I
because
mean
people get so riled up about it. Like one way or the other.
well, and I mean, I think it's kind of a valid reason,
Yep.
we've kind of, like, stamped our I say we as,
Yeah.
like, the
America's like we're
United
the first
States, like,
people
we
to go
stamped
there.
on it, and
Yeah.
it's like
Now when you start like kind of it's one of those things when you study it, you're like, okay, it's what makes you potentially believe most conspiracy theories.
yeah.
Is like there is enough like random like elements to it that you go, this could be true.
Yeah, and for me, like, I'm not a history buff. That was
No,
nothing
I'm
I
not
was,
either.
like, super interested in school.
Yeah.
And so it's like, you get somebody that's, like, super educated on it, I'm like, you got me kinda convinced now."
Yeah, that's what I'm
Like, I don't
saying,
know if
bro.
that's
That's
a
what I'm
dig
saying.
at
You
me
if you
or,
watch enough TikToks on like random conspiracy theories, you go, I mean,
"See, that's a
color me
bulletproof
impressed
argument."
because
Like,
I
come
think I
on.
believe you.
Yeah, well,
Bro,
that's I never opened the, TikTok can of worms,
yeah, it's
so,
mine now is all like coffee, random NASCAR stuff,
yeah.
country music,
Well, the good stuff makes
High
it to
School Musical.
Instagram, so I'm just like, you wait long
Eventually,
enough,
yeah,
it gets
eventually it
there,
gets
like
there. That's I was the same way for a long
yeah.
time.
But and I think, back to the whole kid things, it's like, like, I didn't grow up with tablets and stuff like
No,
that,
dude.
and, my parents never let us have I say never let us, like, they were pretty adamant on, like, like, we didn't have TVs in our room. I
Mhm.
didn't have a TV in my room till college, and that was, like, my freshman year of college, just like, "I'm putting a
Yeah.
TV in here 'cause I
And they're
don't."
like, "This is the
Yeah,
best,
you're right,
bro."
but it was one of those things where it just got you, like, out and
Yeah.
doing things, and
Yeah.
that was such, like, a blessing looking back because,
Yep.
I mean, I've been really fortunate to do some really cool things because
Yeah.
of the sports that I've picked up,
Well,
and
so
that's, yeah.
well, speaking of sports you've picked up, I wanna talk about you played college lacrosse
Yeah.
at University of Tampa.
Mhm.
At what stage of life did you pick lacrosse at? Like, we didn't have lacrosse where I mean, I'm dude, yeah, okay, I'm from West Virginia then.
Yeah.
So, like, you got, like
Different. Yeah.
yeah, like, there's just the sports that exist like, even at Roman school, like, the
Yeah.
amount of sport options they have there, we just like, it wasn't
Yeah.
that way in West Virginia, whether it was interest or whatever.
Yeah.
But so, like, when did you pick up lacrosse? And, like, at what point in time did you know, like, you were good enough to? Because I mean, University of Tampa is Division I, correct?
They're D2.
Are they D2?
Yeah.
Okay. But
Yeah.
still, I mean, like, I don't care, like, you play a college sport
Yeah.
somewhere, that's impressive as hell to
Yeah,
me.
and, it's like, kinda roll it back a little bit, cause like, I played soccer, like, pretty competitively.
Did you really?
Yeah, up until
You look like you would've been a great soccer player. You've got the
it
build.
was just something where, like, sports were something for me that was something that I guess I just identified that, like success
Mhm.
was very simple. You
Okay,
know,
yeah, that makes
get good
sense.
at something
Yep,
that is tangible
yep,
and then win the game. Score the points, win the
yep.
game. And I think for
It's very
me,
concrete.
yeah, it's very concrete, and I
Mhm.
think because I started sports so early, it was something that I was like, "Okay, cool, like, I see this." And
Yeah,
then, for better or for worse, kind of, like, pursuing, like, what getting good at things
yep.
was, um, it just became something where, like, I was like, "Okay, what's kind of like," you kinda you're playing soccer and you're just like, "Okay, well, like, kinda good at it, but, like, it's not really the cool sport." And, like,
Mhm.
I'm not the biggest person. So, like, the
Yeah,
cool sport was football.
yeah.
My parents were like, "You're not playing football, bro.
No.
You're not built look at
When
yourself in
especially
the
not
mirror.
in
You're not."
Florida, dude,
Dude,
it's different
no.
in Florida, bro.
Florida football is different. And, like, I did the baseball thing, but baseball is too slow. And I
Yeah,
just
I get that.
I just baseball didn't do it. So then came soccer. And soccer was fun. It's something my dad coached our
Mhm.
rec teams, and
That's
then,
so much fun,
just
dude.
kinda got competitive outside of rec, and then it
Yep.
became into, like, your state and your, like, travel teams and stuff
Mhm,
like that. And then once, like, school sports came
mhm.
around, so, like, around middle school, um, like, our school had lacrosse,
Yeah.
and my friends that played football
Mhm.
started playing lacrosse, and I was like,
Really?
"Okay." I was like, I think I could play this sport." So
Yeah.
my younger brother actually started playing lacrosse before me.
Okay.
So I kinda got to see it and observe it. I
Yep.
was like, picked up
Makes
the
sense.
stick,
Mhm.
and I was like super athletic from like a running standpoint. So I'm like,
Yeah.
I mean, I can run around on the field all day long. So I started playing. I think, had an injury early on from wakeboarding that kind of like was like a big pause in a lot of
Yeah.
things. And so that started picking up the lacrosse stick. I think I
Okay.
started playing in about eighth grade,
Dang.
and then eighth to ninth.
So you didn't start playing till 8 and still were able to play in college?
Yeah, and,
That's so
it is
crazy.
it's a smaller sport, so it's like you get
Okay.
anybody that's athletic,
Mhm.
you can kinda find your way through it.
Yep.
And, for me, like, I wasn't a big person, so, like,
Mhm.
I think it was, like, sophomore into junior year, I started doing a lot of, like, recruiting camps and
Yeah.
kind of, like, realizing, like, okay, like, there may be some potential
Okay.
for it to be, like, a vessel to facilitate some, like, academic opportunities, like, at the next
Yeah.
level. And, so I started recruiting and I was like, okay, well, like, I got friends getting recruited by like these D1 schools.
Mhm.
And then I would try to, I was in the same recruiting camps as them. And it was always just like, you're too small, you're to get bigger, you're too small. Blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, well, like, whatever. And
Yeah.
so that was like a kind of like a dig, because I was
Yep.
like, I can't change that, but like I can be talented and skilled, all the things I can
Yep.
control. And so, yeah, lacrosse was an interesting sport for me because it allowed me to, like, really be kind of like a niche skill position
Mhm.
player, in a sport that, you know, it was more on the violent side, and
For
and
sure.
and that was a lot of fun. Again, kinda going back to, like, the other things that I liked, like
Mhm.
soccer, like the flopping. I was just like, I just it's like, I
Yeah,
just
it's
didn't like
make
it, but, like,
yeah, I
being
get
able to
that.
run around and, like, put a shoulder into somebody and, like,
Yep.
beat on them with a stick, and, like, there was that physicality to it, so it really felt like, like there was some coolness to it. And then
Yeah.
through high school, our team was, like, pretty decent, and then, getting into college, and
Yep.
then,
Did
so
you play all 4 years at UT?
no. So
Okay.
I played freshman through junior year. I
Okay.
had a lot of injuries.
Okay.
And then, kind of like going through the phase where I was going from undergrad, understanding that like I wanted to go to PT school when I
Yep.
made that kind of that
Mhm.
decision. That like there were things I kind of had to do in order to
Yeah.
make that a reality.
Just becomes a little difficult to go
Well, yeah,
into
and
a
it's
medical type school
yeah.
and played a college sport.
Right, and it was just one of it's like, well, like, like, I'm not going pro in this
Yep,
sport.
for
Like,
sure.
there's just
Is there a pro lacrosse?
yeah, yeah, there's some leagues, but
Okay. Is
and
it
it's
more
it's
like
actually getting a lot more popular. They have the PLO, which
okay,
is, it's like a summer, like, professional league that kinda, like, tweaks some of the sports.
okay,
So some of the rules, and
yeah,
so it's like it's a really, like it's a spectator sport where
okay,
it's, like, really fast, like,
yep,
the rules are simple, like, high
yep.
scoring, quick.
I think my, Tori's cousins, yeah, I think all 3 I think they play lacrosse.
It's fun sport. I
2
mean
of the 3 are playing college lacrosse, and the 3rd one's still, like, a sophomore, so he's still young.
yeah, and, I mean, it's a
But
great
they're
sport.
which is interesting that, like, you growing up in Florida, how big it was there, 'cause they're in Columbus, they're, like, North Ohio, and it's
Yeah,
massive up there.
yeah. Well,
But it's like
it's a Northeast sport, and I
yeah,
think
says what you're telling me is it's a high money sport.
I mean,
If you say
yeah,
Northeast.
there's yeah, but I mean, it's
I'm
like
being a little sarcastic.
the origin of the sport comes from, like, the Native American Indians.
For real.
Yeah, so
I didn't know that.
it was a sport they played, and it was a little bit, like, kind of ritualistic,
Okay,
and they would use it in, like, kind of like some, like, ploy, battlefield kinda
okay.
tactics and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's so
Um
interesting.
But yeah, it has a big, like, Native American background, and so
Okay.
you look at kind of, like, the tribes that were in the Northeast and, like,
Mhm.
in Canada and stuff like that.
Yep.
Like, that's kind of the big origin of it.
So, I wanna ask you a question, like, you talk sports, and, like, you said this, and I just made me think of this. You talk about, like, how sports was so, in a sense, easy for you because there was such a concrete line between, "If I do this, I can be successful," and, all of the things that come with that of, like, it was so easy in a sense to to identify how to be successful and to
Yeah.
find it. Do you feel like there's any part of you that found your identity in being a successful athlete as a kid, and that is some of why you found yourself so I don't know, I'm trying to think of it,
I think
like, drawn
I
to it?
picked the pick up the gist of the question. It's like, yeah,
Yeah,
certainly, like, the draw to it. I think for me, it was something, like, I did find an identity in,
yeah,
for
which
better or
isn't a
for
bad
worse.
thing
No, 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 no.
necessarily.
No, I think there's, like, an inflection point where it
Mhm.
kind of does become a bad
For sure,
thing.
it can.
But I think what it really did for me is it allowed me to learn a lot of lessons and, um, like, intangible, like,
Yep,
characteristics
yep, I
and
understand that,
traits
mhm,
that, are very unique to whether it's an individual sport or a team sport,
mhm,
like, something I actually like, I spend a lot of time in both.
yeah,
And so, on the individual side, it's like, it's on your shoulders, you put in the work,
mhm,
put in the discipline, you go to the event, like, you compete, you get the outcome that you worked for.
yeah,
There's variables that can kinda move the needle. On the team side, it's
yeah,
very much the same thing, like, you own, like, your role and responsibility, you show up for a team. There's a teamwork
yeah,
element, there's a leadership element, and that, you win or lose as a team.
mhm,
So I think there's a lot of lessons that come from just learning how to win and lose.
yeah,
There's a lot of lessons that come from, like, owning your responsibilities from, like, you know, if you don't put in the work, like, you're not gonna get the outcome that you
yeah.
want, and then you kind of learn the lesson of, like, winning or losing.
That's so interesting too when you talk about, like, the dynamic of, like, you did solo sports, individual, and you do team, is there's so much correlation between the 2, but also so much separation
For
at the
sure.
same point in time. Like,
Yeah.
when it comes to, like, like, you think golf, like, we're both big golfers. Dude, it's all on you.
Yeah.
Like, no matter like, there's no other way to put it. It's like,
Right.
it is on your ability to swing your swing and do it successfully that day.
Well, and each sport really has its own, like, kind of thing to it. So
Yep.
it's like I put golf in the endurance sport category because it's not
Yeah.
physically endurance, but it's cognitively
Yep.
something you have to be able to, like, lock in and then
For 18 holes.
disengage and forget. You hit a bad shot, like,
Dude,
you better
and
not
that's what
remember
made
that.
Tiger so good,
Yeah.
there's never been any other professional athlete who could forget what just happened better than
Yeah.
him.
Well, and that's where it's like I have a lot of friends that are picking it up, I'm sure as you
Yep.
do as well, and you play with them, and, like, they get so
It's
frustrated
so
and they hang
frustrating,
on
dude.
to it. I'm just
Mhm.
like, "Dude," I was like, "1, you don't put in any of the time, like, how do you
Yeah.
expect yourself to perform at a level that you're
100%.
wanting to?"
And
But it's
that is one of the biggest sports where you have to.
you yeah, oh, yeah, you absolutely have to, but, like, each individual sport like that really does a lot for you just developmentally,
Yeah,
and
agreed.
so I look back on a lot of the sports that I did, and it's like you can really kind of like identify the different things
Mhm.
that you got from each one.
Yeah.
And I think it is important to, one, learn. So my
Mhm.
parents like had gave me a ton of freedom to, if it was, I mean, shoot, I could have been like, "Hey dad, like, man, these sports are just too much for me, like in underwater basket weaving." Like
Yep.
he would have jumped in the pool and been like, "Let's do
That's
it."
so sick.
And so
Yeah.
it's like it was a blessing just knowing that like it didn't matter what it was,
Mhm.
like, there would
Your
be
parents were gonna
support.
be there to
Yeah,
to
they
to
were
walk
gonna
through it with you.
yeah,
Yeah.
they were gonna encourage me and support me into just, like, figuring it out and, you know,
Mhm.
getting good at it and
Yep.
figuring out what that meant. And so it's just something that I think sports are so foundational,
Yeah.
like, it definitely in who
Oh,
I
I
am,
agree.
but, like, it also is something that now looking back, I realize is, like, all these lessons I learned from playing sports are by and far the reason that I've been able to, like, get through PT school,
Yeah.
like, get into the professional world, pinball my way through 100 different ventures and things that I've tried to do,
Yeah.
and, it's just taught me some of these, like, skills that, like, you really have to just experience,
Yep.
it's like nobody can sit you down and, like,
Nope.
teach you something out of a book, you just have to live it, and, um, I think that's something that's really unique to sports, and it's something that, like, I know, like, when my son is able
Yeah.
and interested in sports, it's gonna be facilitating and encouraging of just go do what you want, you
Yep.
wanna like, it doesn't matter what it is because it's just I mean, God, I mean, it could be the flavor of the week,
And
Come in the next hour,
it
and it
will.
might be different.
And that is the thing, like, with Roman, it's like, dude, weekly. Like, Christmas break, you know what it was? Kickball. It's what they're playing in recess right
Oh,
now.
yeah.
And so every day it's like, "Dad, can we go outside and play kickball?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Do you know how hard it is to play kickball with an 8-year-old where you don't get to kick
Yeah.
and all you're doing is pitching the
Rolling
whole
the
time?
ball.
You're just rolling the ball the whole time, and he's running the bases, and you've
Yeah.
got to dude, it's
Yeah.
yeah." And I'm like, "It's also freezing over Christmas break." And then the next week, it's like we're back on football, and then
Yeah.
you're back on basketball, and
Yeah.
then it's go and it's
But
just it's the fun part
that's
of
the
it.
best part of it
Yeah.
because it's like I mean, I put on, like, the PT hat, and I think about, like, not just, like, the child side of,
Mhm.
like, getting to do all these different things, but, like, developmentally, like, hand-eye coordination, athleticism,
Yeah.
it's like, the more you encourage somebody to just go out and just play,
Yep.
like, I mean, that's just teaching health. It's
Yeah.
just encouraging
Whatever your
people to
imagination comes up with today, go
yeah.
do it.
There's there's
Well,
there's no wrong.
you talk about, people that get so pissed when they play golf when they're just starting. My thing is I'm like, "Okay, first of all, you need a transfusion."
Yeah,
And
right.
that's my like, if and, like, also, like and because I used to be the guy, like I mean, dude, I've played golf for over 25 years, or close to it. Like, I used to get so pissed, and then at some point in time, you just realize you're like, "Dude, it's just
Yeah.
golf." Like, even if, like and I gamble when I play golf with my
Yeah.
buddies and, like but it's still, it's like, it's minimal, and so you're just like, you're out there to have fun
Yeah.
and
Well, there's a
but
funny story to that, like, so my dad golf was actually my first sport. My dad put a
yeah.
club in my hand when I think I was 18 months old,
Yep.
and so he would take me out there and, he had a running tee time. It was, like, every 7 a.m. on a Sunday,
What a
and
dream,
we would
dude.
go out and I from, just right there with the memories of getting on the lake,
Yep.
teeing off at the 50-yard mark and getting in, and I remember he gave me a challenge. He was like, "When you break 100, I'll," because I always thought, like, the crunchy golf shoes, the metal spikes was,
Oh,
like, the coolest thing. You heard
oh,
somebody crunching on the
yep.
concrete, you're like,
Nothing is more
"Those are
sick than
cool."
that,
And
yeah.
so, he gave me a challenge. He's like, "If you break 100,
Yeah.
I'll get you a pair of golf shoes." And, gosh, I must have been I I'm gonna throw a number out there, like 8,
Yeah.
maybe, I don't know,
Yeah.
I could be way off, but
Yeah.
I was pretty young.
Mhm.
And I remember I had a good round going. And I was head case at the time. I was,
Oh,
like,
dude, I
super,
was
super
throwing
emotional. Oh,
clubs,
yeah, it was bad,
screaming.
and I
Yeah, it was bad.
remember going
That's
into
because
the
we
in
watched Tiger do
oh, yeah.
it.
Going into the last hole, I remember I had a chance to break 100
Yep.
and, go back to, like, just pivotal, like, life lessons that you kinda learn.
Yep.
And so, like, I'm going into this hole, and I'm like, "Okay, like, I got a chance." I don't
Yep.
remember what it was, but I remember it being like I was
Yep.
close. And I don't at some point, wheels fell off on the hole, but at some point, I get to up around the green, and, like, I might have been, like, at a bogey or
Yeah.
double bogey, something like that, but,
Yeah.
like, the hopes at 100 were, like,
They were gone.
they were gone,
Shot. Yep.
and I remember I chipped in, and my dad was like, "Dude, like, that was awesome," and I was pissed
Yep.
because I didn't get the challenge, but
Yeah.
it was just one of those things of, like, the lessons of, like, winning or losing, regulating your emotions and all that
Uh-huh.
stuff where I look back and I laugh, and it's a
Yep.
funny story that, like, he tells, you know,
Oh,
and I'll
yeah.
tell every once in a while, but it's
Yeah.
like, it's the things that, like, putting yourself out there and challenging
Yeah.
yourself through sports and through activity that, like, I think there was definitely a time where, like, it was a fault where
Yep.
I just had too much of an identity in it,
Mhm.
and I was fortunate to find myself
Mhm.
just in a career path and just life in general that, like, balanced some things
Yeah.
out.
For sure.
But it took a while to get there,
Well
and it was a lot of, like, a lot of learning, and there's I was listening to it was actually Jelly Roll's most recent podcast with Joe Rogan,
yeah.
and he told a story on there that I had to grab because I loved it, and, he's got a ton of just little
Yep.
quips he pulled out of his pocket, but,
Yeah.
like, he told this story, and it was, there's a successful guy, and I don't know if it was, like, a kid or somebody younger, but,
Mhm.
you know, he approached him, he's like, "Hey, you know, you have all this success, you know,
Mhm.
it's like, how'd you get so successful?" And, he goes, "2 words," and he goes, "Good decisions."
Mm.
And the kid was like, "Well, how'd you learn how to make good
Yeah.
decisions?" And the guy goes, "1 word." He goes, "Experience." And the kid goes, "Okay, well, like, how'd you get experience?" The guy goes, "2 words." He goes, "Bad decisions." You know, so it's just
Yeah.
kind of like this whole kind of story that I was like, "Man, like, that just
Yeah.
encapsulates what the value of experience
Yep.
is." And if you don't
Agreed.
put yourself out there and you don't stretch yourself, you don't challenge yourself, like, you're not like, you have to just let go of the
Well,
idea
and
of
I think
failing.
so much of our lives is so built can so easily be built around the fear of not being or appearing successful that we will never do what we could do.
Mhm.
Because but like the reality of if you ask anyone who is successful, they will tell you somewhere along the lines they failed at something.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I mean, you look at the most successful businesses of like, and I don't remember who it is. I you see it every now and then on social media. It's like KFC, Colonel Sanders didn't start it till he was like in his mid to late
Yeah,
40s. Like Walt Disney was in his 40s.
yeah.
You're like all of these successful people. So you're like, and I think that the age of life that we live in, I think we so quickly assume that you have to accomplish something and be successful by the time you're 30. I remember when I turned 30, I looked at Tori and I'm like, I'm 30 years old and I haven't accomplished shit yet.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I genuinely felt that.
yeah,
And I think it was because what I thought I was setting out to do when I was 20 didn't come to fruition and never will, thankfully.
sure.
And but it's this like we build this thing, but like at the same point in time, what I thought was failure has also led me down the road that I'm on now of having
Yeah,
this podcast.
wow.
And so it's like we just perceive this failure as the worst thing when at the end of the day, it is the building blocks that get us to the point of being able to learn and become successful in whatever it may be.
Right, and you never know what's on the back end of
No,
that, you know,
you
and I
don't.
don't know I don't remember exactly what the saying is, but something along the lines of, like, failure only becomes defined when you stop,
Yep,
right?
100%.
And so
Yeah.
it's like this kind of notion that it's like life is a journey, and you're as long as you keep learning along the way, like,
Mhm.
there's no such thing as a failure because the one thing you learn from, you know, one experience is going to shape and help you not
Yep.
like have
Yeah.
you know, make the
Well,
same mistake
it
the next time.
if my parents, I think, did anything well when I was a teenager, it was they wanted to do their best to keep me from making bad decisions and doing stupid things, but they didn't stop me from it. They allowed me to make mistakes.
Yeah.
Because what that then did was it taught me the repercussions of mistakes.
So, you know, that's something that I am very nervous for as a
Mhm.
dad.
Yeah,
And
I
so
get that.
being that, you know, you have a son that is in a very, I say, like, sponge-like
Yep.
years where
Yeah.
it's like, how hard is that to let him learn on his own?
It I think it's very hard, but I think what I would say is harder is encouraging him that it's okay to not be perfect, but to come to me when he isn't. Like, I feel like something I have to tell him constantly, like, "I will not be mad at you if you're honest. I promise. I will never
Yeah,
get even if you did the wrong thing. I just want you to tell me."
yeah,
And so it's like, I you know, I think and I don't know that that necessarily answers your question, but I think something that makes it more challenging now is he is not only is he, like, in that sponge stage, but he's also in school
yeah,
where, you know, other people are telling him things
mhm,
that, um, I haven't told him yet, or
yeah,
I may not want him to know. So, like, I'll tell
sure,
you a story. So, it was the last I think it was when he was in 1st grade. Um, we were talking one day, and something about the subject of being gay came up. And not that I was I'm just like, not that I have anything against anyone who is gay
sure,
by any stretch of the imagination. So, like, I don't want it to come across that way. But it was something I had not
yeah,
explained to him yet, that is,
yeah,
that some people make that choice.
sure,
And he comes home and something about it came up and he goes, "Oh, I know what that means." And I looked at him and I looked at Troy. I was like, "What do you
what do you mean?
mean? You know what that means?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, it means like when a boy likes a boy." And I'm like, "How did you find that out?" He goes, "Oh, so and so told me."
Yeah,
And I'm like, and like, it wasn't that I was like trying to protect him from that. It
yeah,
was one of those things that's like there's just certain things of like in life you want the opportunity to tell your kids,
yeah,
like what explain to them what things
mhm,
mean and in all of that. And so I think it's just I'll try to answer your question because like that was one of those things where it's a moment where it's like as a dad it's like okay you're absorbing all of this information.
mhm,
How do I like help you have the perspective of like what to think about it
right,
without like because I think in the Christian circles that you and I have been in, a lot of them are like that's wrong, don't do it. Or I'm like my thing is more like let's love the person no matter what their
yeah,
decision in life is
right.
like why do I and so I that's why I say that's a whole other topic
No, I mean,
to
but
get into.
I think, like, the basis of the answer I'm hearing is, like, you have to give somebody the flexibility and the freedom to learn on their own. And
Yeah.
back to all I said about, like, the way that I grew up is, like, my parents created an environment
Mhm.
where, like, I could learn on my own, and
Yeah.
if I had questions, I could come to them,
Yeah.
and if there were things that they needed to teach me, they could teach it to
Yeah.
me, and it was part of that of just, like, trusting the process that they are good people,
Yeah.
and they are gonna put my best interests first,
Yep.
and that the rest is gonna take care of itself, and you
Yeah.
just can't protect I mean, you can't
I,
protect people from everything.
well, and I think that if our generation has done something really bad, is we have become overprotectors
Yeah,
when it comes to our children. We want to shield them and guard them and protect them from everything, which part of being a parent is protecting and guarding them. But we've done it to a fault of where we don't allow them to make mistakes. We don't allow them to be kids and to fall and get hurt
right.
and like things like that. Of I'm
Yeah.
like I want Roman to feel that. Like I want
Mhm.
him to feel like when he does this, this can happen. And I'm not mad at you that it
Right.
happened, but like let me like so
Let's
I
talk about it.
yeah, let's talk
Yeah.
about why that happened. And so
Right.
that's like my thing is like recent like he's at this stage now where he like doesn't always want to completely be transparent or honest or he'll like kind of fudge and I'll look at him like Kate, if you don't tell me the truth, you will be in trouble for lying.
Right.
But if you tell me the truth, even if it's bad, I'm not going to be mad.
Right.
So I think my approach when it comes to parenting, I've tried to always give him a safe place to come. And I think this probably better answers your question a little bit. Give him a safe place to come so that when things are going on, so like case in point of like when somebody tells him what it means to be gay. Again, not bad that he knows,
Right.
but he then comes to me and says, "Hey, I learned this today.
Right.
Like, what like, let's talk about it more."
Right.
And so I think that for me is what I because I have always said since he was little, I want to build the rapport and the trust with him now when he's 7, 8, 9, 10. That so that when he's 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, and he finds himself in a bad spot
Yeah.
of he makes a mistake, because we've been teenage boys,
Sure.
we all know
Oh, yeah.
what it can be
Yeah.
like, or he's in a situation where he doesn't know what to do. He doesn't run and hide like like I when I was a teenager, I wasn't always upfront and transparent. So like I want to do the opposite. Not
Right.
that my parents didn't give me a place where it could be,
Yeah.
but I want to make sure that I'm doing everything I can so that when he needs me to be there, he knows that I am,
Yeah.
and it with no repercussion.
Yeah.
Like life alone, if you make mistakes, will has its way of teaching you.
Right.
I, as your dad, don't need to then always punish you when you make a mistake.
Yeah, there's definitely a balance, and I think
Yeah.
that's the thing that, like,
I hope that
because
answers your
it
question a
does.
little
No,
better.
it definitely does, because it's one of those, it's like you can't put all the guardrails up.
Yeah.
Like, you kinda have to, like.
You have to pick and choose where you put guardrails up as a
Yeah.
parent.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm excited to learn, you know, really
And
what that means, but
and yeah,
it's
and
also,
you
like.
learn as you go.
Right.
Again, it goes back to what we talked about earlier
Yeah.
when it comes to parenting of like every stage of like, okay, when your baby's a newborn, you are gonna have a very strict guardrail. Like, don't touch hot things. It's gonna burn you. It's
Right,
gonna
yeah,
hurt. Like,
yeah,
but then that guardrail changes over time.
yeah,
And so it's like then it becomes of like a hey, you can't watch this right now because you can't process what it is.
right,
So it's like we got to watch Remember the Titans with Merriment the other day, and for the first time. And so I was explaining to him the history of slavery
yeah,
and like why in the early 1970s it was such a big deal that there were black kids and white kids, and like he has kids in his class that are not white kids.
right,
And so Tori looked at me, she's like, they not only would they not be in your school if you were in the same place, they would have to drink from a separate water fountain.
yeah,
You would like they have to walk on a different side of the street. Like we
yeah,
have friends that are black, and he's like, we're like, you wouldn't it wouldn't have been acceptable for you to be to know them.
yeah,
Why? Sorry. I don't know where that random fly came from. I just saw it. But all of that to say it's like 2 years ago, he wouldn't have been able to process that. So
sure,
there was a guardrail there
yeah,
of like you like although you would thoroughly enjoy the movie,
right,
you can't process it yet.
mhm,
So I hope that kinda makes sense.
it
I also
does.
am aware that somewhere in some answer I just gave, I've drastically offended someone, and I'm just
But, like, I
just the
mean,
reality of
they're
life.
all just examples of the
Yeah,
reality that, like, you can't control every situation that
correct.
somebody else is
Mm,
in. You can't even control every situation that, you're gonna find yourself in, and that's something that, like, I just have to remind myself
yep.
that it's like, man, like, I had a good head on my shoulders, and I
Mhm.
was able to really discern, you know, good and bad,
Yep, right.
and it, learn along the way.
And I think that is, again, like, to try to answer your question a little bit, like, that's the goal of parenting, like, and that's why I say, like, I want to do my best to teach Roman what, like, for our family, we believe is right and wrong, so that when he's 15, 16, 17,
Yeah.
he has the foundation to choose what to do.
Mhm.
But, I mean, you just said it's like, you don't choose the situations, you don't
No,
choose it
can't do it.
any of that stuff, like, all you can do is do as a parent is do your best to, like, give them the space,
Right.
instill the values and guidelines in them. But, like, I also have never been the, like, hard ass on Roman.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people I know who are always like, when your kid's 0 to 4, you have to discipline them and instill discipline in them so that, like, they fear you, and I'm like, "Why, bro? Like,
Yeah.
what is the value
Yeah.
in my 5-year-old being scared shitless of his dad?"
Yeah. I think it just goes back to the same, this was something I've really kind of learned more clearly, especially, like, in my faith from,
Mhm. Yeah.
the true fear of God.
Yeah,
Like,
for sure.
and it really is, it's understanding, like, what, like, a reverent fear is that is truly rooted, like, in respect.
Yeah.
And so I think it comes a lot from, like, the example and leading from how you live your life because
Mhm.
they are sponges and
They
they,
are 100, and
especially a
you
boy
don't
to a
realize it,
dad,
bro.
like they will look at you in every single second, of
Yeah.
every day,
Yep.
and to know that like you just kind of have to like you really gotta
Dude, and then
you gotta watch
you
yourself.
don't realize it, like, so every Christmas, like, I love Christmas Vacation, it's one of the greatest
Yeah.
movies ever made. We were I don't remember what I think it was, like, I always get Christmas Vacation, ornaments every year. Hallmark, makes some, my grandmother gets
Yeah.
them for me, and so Roman and I we were walking in the back door, and he started giggling, and we've been talking about this scene in the movie where, I think I said something about we were talking about I know, sorry, this is very long-winded. We're talking about the scene where, Uncle Lewis and Aunt Bethany come in the house, and, Rusty ends up going, "Can't wait to see what I got."
Yeah.
And, and Clark goes, "She wrapped up a damn cat." People were walking in the house. And Roman starts giggling. It's just me and him. Tori's not up yet. And I'm like, "What are you giggling at?" He goes, "She walks around the house just wrapping shit up." And I'm like, "I don't, dude." I cackled laughing. And I looked at him, I was like, "Dude, you cannot repeat that." And it's like, so to your point is like the amount of stuff that I say or do, and then he like repeats it and Tori looks at me.
Yeah.
I tried to make a he loves these nuts jokes.
Good.
He, dude, he loves them. And this is a couple months ago. I told the story with Josh Hill on, but I'm like, "Hey, bro, you ever heard of Room 40?"
Mm,
And he's like, "Room 40." And Tori's like, "He is not
don't
your
do it.
bro. Stop." And I'm like, I I'd recently taught him how to shank people.
Nice.
But again, so now he just like tries to come up to me like 10 times a day and tries to shank me. And we're like, but like my thing with all of those things is I'm like, in our house, this is your safe place.
Yeah.
You can say it. You
Right.
can do it. Like
Yeah.
what like if it's not harmful to people, it's but like because I would rather you do that in this house where if it's not right and I need to correct you, I'm the one correcting
Yeah,
you
for
and
sure.
helping you learn that. I'm like, dude, for the love of God, please do not go to school
Yeah.
and
No D's nuts
make a
jokes.
D's nuts joke
Can't
to
do that.
Macy.
I don't wanna get that phone call.
Honestly, like I would laugh my head off
Yeah.
because like his school loves him and our like we love his school and his teacher's phenomenal. But yeah, I don't need a call from Macy at 2 o'clock on a Tuesday.
No.
So Jake looked at me and said, or Roman said, "These nuts." So I want to wrap up with this though, because there's a lot of we haven't talked about yet. So we're just gonna save for the next time you come on the podcast. But talk to me about so you've been in the medical world for I mean 13ish, 10ish years now.
Yeah, so, probably closer to 6. I finished
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
because I
that yeah
finished
because
PT school in
school.
2019. Then that's yeah, so
Okay,
that was,
my
post grad,
clearly
yeah.
my brain just
Well, no, I mean,
yeah,
if
but
it
yeah,
had been undergrad, like, it
undergrad,
would
then
have
it would
been
have been
about
around.
10
That's what
years.
I was
Yeah,
thinking of.
yeah.
So you've been in the medical field for around 6 years. The greater majority of that in PT, working with patients, clients. Um, have gotten to work with professional athletes, work with a lot of influential people, which I think is just testament to who you are as a human. That like people have these options and they're coming to you. But talk to me though about just because I there's so much in that I would love to get into. But I'm curious though, like right now you're in a different role for the first time ever.
Yeah,
Talk like how did that come about? What made you because you're not doing standard PT like at all. You're
far
doing
from it.
something
So far
completely
from it.
opposite.
Yeah.
What made you why did you make that jump? What led you down that path and talk a little about
Yeah.
that.
So, in PT school, I certainly wasn't naive to just kind of the state of healthcare.
Sure.
The thing that drew me to PT just was the broad bandwidth of the knowledge
Mhm.
and the way that you just learn about the human body.
Yeah.
And so for me, and I think if you had asked me back then, I probably would deny it. But the way I saw
Mhm.
it was one of the shortest tracks to like a like doctoral
Sure.
profession.
Oh, for sure. That makes sense.
And so it's different. It's not an MD, it's not a PhD, it's a clinical doctorate, but you
Still a
you're
doctor in my book.
still board certified.
Yep.
Like you still kind of have to go through this like pretty regimented process.
Mhm.
But when you graduate, it's really kind of like the world's your oyster. You can
Yeah.
be in pediatrics or neurology, like
Yeah.
in like
Oh, that
a
makes
kind of
sense.
neuro specialty, or uh it's a pediatric, geriatric,
Yep.
sports, orthopedics. Like there really
There's
is
so
like
many niches
there's so
within
many
that
niches
realm.
to it,
Yep.
which is really, really cool. And so, like I looked at PT as kind of like a start.
Okay.
And so in PT school, I was a part of our like business and advocacy group.
Mhm.
And I knew that my clinic care life from like a corporate clinic standpoint
Mhm.
was probably gonna be like a pretty short-lived thing,
Yeah.
just from like the structure of it.
Okay.
I'd already seen from, like observation hours and volunteering and stuff before I even went into school, that I was like, this is like kind of rigid, and I just
Mhm.
just wasn't really what I was looking for.
Yeah.
And so I spent a year. Well, so I started my first clinic job 2 months before the COVID pandemic happened.
Dang.
And so I was like
That's
rampant.
crazy.
Yeah, I talk about like you learn something is a certain way,
Yep.
and then you enter into like your
And it's
professional world
all
for the
different.
first time, and then it flips on its head. And so
Oh,
I found
yes, dude.
myself in a clinic job where like I didn't really finish getting like the onboarding mentorship that I
Mhm.
like needed, and I was just kind of like thrust out there.
Yep.
And I'm like a trial by fire, so it's
Mhm.
just like it wasn't a bad thing, but it left me with a lot of time on my hands. And so
Yeah.
what I ended up doing is kind of starting exploring all these different ventures. And so I
Okay.
had an idea. I had in PT school for like a little like low tech, kind of like gait training technology.
Mhm.
And so I was like, I'm seeing like I think, we went from 40 hours a week to
Yep.
like 32 hours, and
Mhm.
I was maybe seeing like 10 visits a week. Like, it
Jeez.
was nothing. It was
Yeah.
wild. It was so much downtime just sitting in clinics, because like, you could
That
only
would blow
have,
my
like,
freaking mind,
yeah,
bro.
I mean, it was all the social distancing. It was
Yep.
so weird. People would
Mhm.
come in with face masks. It was strange.
Yeah,
There's a lot of telehealth.
I did my PT January 22, still had to wear a
Yeah.
mask
Yeah,
for it. That was awful,
it
bro.
was really strange, but all that to say, like, it gave me space to, like,
Yeah.
learn and do
Yeah,
other
for
things. And so
sure.
like I went down this path of like trying to create this device, and got connected with people at Vanderbilt and like a graduate program. And like it was like ultimately like a year and a half of
Mhm.
just kind of like fumbling through, like learning
Mhm.
like FDA and like product development, and creating
Yeah.
like a minimal viable an MVP, a minimally
Mhm.
viable product, like
Yeah.
cog sheets, like I mean like
Yeah.
all like P&Ls. I'm like,
Totally
I have
different
no
world.
business back,
Yep.
like nothing like that. And so I'm learning. I mean, it
Yep.
was like it was really great drinking from a fire hose. And
Yeah,
so I
literally.
kind of like hit that point where I'm like, I remember being in, it was my first like annual review in the clinic, and it
Mhm.
was like being evaluated for like a 1, 2, or 3% like merit-based raise. And I'm sitting here at like an entry level salary, and I'm just like, this ain't it. Like,
No, dude.
it's not
Yeah.
about the money, but I'm just like, I'm not. And there's like a lot to that, but like, bringing in business to the practice, like all this stuff. I'm just like,
But
This
so
isn't it."
interesting though, that's like, sorry to interrupt you, but like it's so interesting that you had just started practicing and already knew that this thing you'd gone to school for what, 4 years. You're like, this isn't the end of the road. So and continue. I'm
Yeah. So, but
like
it
in a
kind
good
of,
way interesting,
right.
but
It kind of, it just because when I graduated, I was like, I got 5 years
Mhm.
of clinic practice
Mhm.
before I've got a 5-year window that I'm
Yeah.
gonna kind of like give myself to experience clinic care, figure out if it's really for me,
Okay. Makes
mature
sense.
in it, gain experience, get some credibility, put some like
But
years
you
under my
got that
belt.
initial like
But I got the
inkling.
taste of it, and I was like,
Yeah.
and that's the cool thing about clinical practice.
Mhm.
Like, even though I'm not in corporate PT now, like I'm
Yeah.
never gonna let my license lapse,
No.
because it's a nice, like, at the end of the day, if shit hit the fan and like I had to go back into
Yep.
clinic care, like I can get a clinic job like that.
Oh, I'm
Like,
sure. Yeah.
and that's a really unique thing that, some professional careers, like, they don't really
Yeah.
have.
Right.
But I learned early on that was like I wasn't putting my eggs in that basket,
Yeah.
because like where was that gonna take me? Like, what
Yeah.
was I really
That
like
makes sense.
reaching towards,
Unless you open your own practice, and then
Which
that's a whole other
and then
level.
that was kind of like what I learned, is I was like, well, I mean, healthcare is a business. Whether
Yep.
you like it or not, it's
Mhm.
transactional, it's a business. and business people make money.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, what does it look like for me to go from clinical practice to the
Mhm.
business side of healthcare that's not opening a practice? And
Yeah, yeah,
so
makes sense.
I began kind of like looking at different things and like um I got introduced to somebody he moved here from Oklahoma.
That I was gonna say that was when I started to get to know you better,
Yeah.
was when you all were in this
We
stage. Yeah,
tried
yeah,
to
yeah.
we kind of tried to roll out a medical distributorship, and like there's just a lot of like life happening at that time and it
Yeah,
didn't work
right.
out. But again, it was just kind of like started this process of like looking at things, trying to find
Mhm.
something. And so I was like, okay, well, like I'm here and I want to get there. So like, how do I fill the gap? And I was like, okay, well, like let me go find some like PRN, some part-time work. I found some
Mhm.
clinics I could work in where it was like I'm filling in time, but it's not like working towards something. I
Yeah.
had the flexibility to work 14 days straight if I want to between hospital and,
Yep.
outpatient, or I could take a month off and
Yep.
it's just, it's
Yeah, no
totally up to
penalty
me.
to you. Yeah.
And so I just kind of like started doing things and it was like I had like a staging and installation business and I was working with an interior design group,
Yeah.
just kind of like I was just like doing things, like
Yep.
landscape. I mean, it was just
Anything you can
I had
find
the
to do,
flex
you
right,
did.
and it was
Yeah.
just like I was trying to make ends meet so that I
Yep.
could. And so at one point I got connected with a startup group in town. They're
Mhm.
in the neuro rehab space. And they needed somebody with like the flexibility to kind of lead some like
Mhm.
neuro gym stuff for them. So I took that on. That kind of like
Was that the nonprofit that you worked for?
no. So
Okay.
that's kind of like a different thing. That
Okay.
kind of pairs more with like the wakeboarding
Okay,
background.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I went
Um,
which that was the last thing you were in, correct? Before your current job, or
so
close to
so
it?
I'm still
Sorry,
in
I
that.
know I'm
So
interrupting.
yeah, no.
Keep
So
going though.
I'll connect it along the
Okay.
way because I'm kind of just I guess walking through a
Yeah, yeah,
timeline
yeah.
of it.
I'm
So
with you.
I started working with this startup company and I was doing a lot of stuff for them, and it just kind of like gave me that first full step into the business side of healthcare.
Yeah.
And so let's see, that takes me all the way up through about like May of 2025,
Mhm.
and their startup, and it was just kind of hit a point where like they needed to go in a different direction, so they let me go.
Mhm.
And so that was a tough time for me
Yep.
because literally 5 days after that happened, that was when I found out Madison was pregnant. So like it was
Easy.
just there was just a lot of things moving, but I was
Yeah.
also it's like okay, like this is where I'm at. Like I've kind of got my foot in the business side of healthcare
Yeah.
door. Let
Right.
me like really like finally like push
Mhm.
and make this like full transition.
Yeah.
And so I found this role at Johnson and Johnson
Mhm.
in their cardiology division in
Yeah.
electrophysiology, which they deal with like arrhythmias, specifically
Okay.
like uh tachycardias,
Yep.
so heartbeats too fast,
Yep.
right? And so this role is specifically for like cardiac mapping and
That's
supporting
so
physicians to,
wild, dude.
complete these
Yeah.
procedures they're doing. And so it's still heavily clinical,
Mhm.
but it's kind of put me in a position where I can lean a lot on like my anatomy and physiology background,
Mhm.
which all came from PT school,
Yep.
and I can now kind of be a different voice in a room
Yeah.
that, people in these roles typically come from more like a biomedical engineering
Mhm.
space, and then they stretch to like learn the like A&P side of it.
Yep.
And so it was really interesting because I felt like I like to get there, I really had to like advocate for like what a physical therapist is.
Mhm.
And, a lot of people look at they're like, "Oh, you abandoned your profession. You worked all this to like get this degree and now like
Yeah.
you're not doing it clinically." But like, along the way in, those years where I was trying to bridge the gap, like I
Mhm.
started this concierge business.
Yep.
And so, helping people like you, like
Yep.
it's a unique thing with PT where it's like I got a treatment table, I got a,
Yeah.
like a
You
go
literally
bag of
set it up
stuff.
in your house for
Yeah,
them.
and it's like I
Yeah.
can be mobile. It's like, like having that flexibility is something that's really cool about like the PT space.
Yeah.
And it's something I'll always do. But what I learned is that it's like, our healthcare system it's transactional.
Yeah, for sure.
And from a PT
Love it or
standpoint,
hate it.
like in a perfect world, could if I could create the perfect situation for myself, I wouldn't have to worry about making money and supporting a family, and I would have a space that I practice PT in and just
Mhm.
help people however I wanted to do it.
Mhm.
There was no exchange of services. I wouldn't look at it as like, "Hey, let me see Jake 5 times this week so I can
Yep.
make more than if I'd only see him 3 times."
Mhm.
And so, because there's a very firm ceiling on the amount of time you can see somebody,
Yep.
like, within your day,
Mhm.
and so it's like, okay, well, like, how do you maximize the value of your time? And then
Yep.
it's kind of like, okay, we get into, disposable type, like, environments, like
Yeah.
operating rooms and things like
Mhm.
that. So it was kind of like, okay, like I was very fortunate to be given a chance and
Yeah.
essentially like kind of start over,
Yeah.
going through this training process with people that are fresh out of college. And it's
Yeah.
like, it's humbling, but it's also, I think, something that like back to the value that like sports brings to your
Yep.
life. It's like, go, go do something
Yep.
that you suck at.
Mhm.
Because if you can sit there and be frustrated with something that you just watch other people do and get click, and you can sit there and you can learn and you can figure it out, like back to exactly what you were talking about with Roman, it's like
Yeah.
you can watch him understand that like he can figure things out. And
Mhm.
when you grasp that, it's like it's only your first time once, and you
Yeah.
can actually like once you learn how to do something, like you just build on that and
Yeah.
there's a confidence to it. Like,
When it's even like we were talking about this earlier before we started recording. When it, like that's what PT is in general.
yeah,
It's like you're teaching someone how to do it,
right.
and then you're just teaching them how to build on it.
Right, and that's I think, for me, the frustrating part is, like, I felt like a broken record when I was in
Yeah.
the clinic. I was having the same conversation over and over and over again,
You're
you
probably
have
getting a lot
somebody
of
that would come see
60-year-old
you.
women who had full knee replacements who don't want to do their
I mean,
PT.
really what it was is you'd get people that were retired. They kind of lost this general direction or purpose within their life because they
Mhm.
just didn't have anything they were
Yeah.
working for doing. They didn't have anything they necessarily liked, so they were super sedentary. And their
Yep.
bodies just hurt because they didn't move. And
Yep.
so they'd come and see you, you'd get them moving, be like, "Man, I feel great."
Then
You'd
they
work with them
don't
for a
do it.
couple weeks, you discharge them,
Yep.
and then they'd come back 3 months later, be like, "Yeah, my back started hurting again." It's like, "Okay, well,
Are you
are
doing the
you doing the
exercises
things
I
that I
gave you?
told you to
Yeah.
do?" And they'd be like, "Oh, that piece of paper or those things you showed me?" Like, "No, like, I haven't done that. I was feeling good, now I don't anymore." I'm like, "Well, guess what? We're doing the exact same thing we did the last time."
Yeah.
You'd see them for 4 to 6 weeks, and they'd go, "Oh, I feel great," and they'd be off again, and it was just a cycle, and I was like,
Cycle of yeah.
I learned early that, like, what it means to, like, value your own ability and,
Mm.
like, own who you are and what you are and the value you bring, and I was like, "I know my time is more valuable than
Wow.
this, and I want it to like, be
Yeah.
more valuable than that." So it's like, I'm gonna go seek these environments where the value I can bring
Mhm.
is truly, like, tangible for the outcome of something, and so
Yep.
now in these, like, heart surgeries that I get to be a part of,
Yeah.
like, the better I get to do this mapping system, the better the physician can see where he needs to go, and the
Wow.
better he can do his procedure, which is, better outcomes for the
Which
patient.
comes back kinda goes back to our conversation on sports of the concrete success
Yeah.
of that. So
Right, which and it was funny, I was talking to Madison about that, and I was like, "I think I know why, like, this is so much more of, like, a rewarding
Mhm.
field for me is it's because it's like a procedure starts, you have an objective,
Yeah.
you walk through the process to
Mhm.
reach the end of the objective, and then the physician completes the procedure and it's done.
Yep.
And it's like, sweet. I mean, bookends.
Yep.
Like, whereas like with clinic care, it's not that there isn't that, but
Very
it's so much
fluid.
more fluid.
Mhm.
And a lot of it
Yeah.
falls on, are you gonna do are you
Oh,
gonna
yeah.
embrace what I'm actually trying to get you to do or
Because
not?
you're only as good at what you do in a clinic as the patient is at following the instructions
Right.
and doing it outside of that. Because if, like, you're going to PT and you're doing it once a week for an hour a week and you do nothing for the other 6 days, it's not gonna work.
Which is majority of the time, it's what people expect. They go there and
Yeah.
they want you to make them better.
Yeah.
And they're like, that's an okay expectation, but you have to own your own progress,
Yeah.
and that's been
Oh,
like
it's like working out, dude.
yeah. But and that, like, there's like I mean, we continue to go on with this,
Yeah.
but it's like, if you don't associate the value of what you're doing with the activity,
Yeah.
like, the adherence to the activity is gonna be 10 times, like, less likely
100%. Yep.
because the why is missing.
Yep.
But if, like this is what I when I'm working trying to get people to, like, kinda get a wellness program going.
Yeah.
So it's kinda like, if you don't understand or appreciate, like, what the presence of exercising or activity does for you, I don't care what it is.
Yeah.
Like, go for a walk,
Mhm.
go outside, like, go lift weights. I don't care if you're ego lifting and doing biceps and triceps
Yep. But do
5
it.
days straight. If that's what makes you feel good
Yep.
and gets you moving,
Sick.
awesome. I
Yep.
love that because I can work with that.
Yep.
Because I guarantee you, if you do bis and tris for 4 weeks straight, you're gonna be so bored and you're
Yep.
gonna be like, "I
Why
need
don't I
I
do
need
legs?
something else."
Yeah.
Right, and so then it's like, "Okay, cool. I
Yeah.
can work with that," because you've kind of, like, gotten to this
Yeah.
appreciation for, like, the why you're doing
Yep.
something, and so, like, uh, I guess kinda putting a bow on, like, why being out of the
Mhm.
clinic and what it is, it's kind of just kind of understanding, like, the value that I can bring to a room
Mhm.
is really limitless,
Yeah.
and when you really own and embrace, like, what it is,
Mhm.
and for me, like, that's starting over. Like, I don't fully know the
Crazy, dude.
capacity
Yeah.
of, like, the value I can bring to a room, but I see the potential, and, like, that's a really fun thing for me to be,
Yeah.
like, pursuing right now.
Yeah.
And so, like, you kinda mentioned the nonprofit group that I
Yeah.
work with. So it's about 3 years ago, kinda when I was, like, pinballing through all
Yeah.
these other things, um, a friend of mine whose brother I grew up wakeboarding with,
Okay.
Bob Lafferty,
Mhm.
he sat on the board for this nonprofit group called
Mhm.
Water Walkers,
Yep.
and he lives down in Florida, and he reached out to me because he knew I lived here.
Yeah.
It's a Nashville-based nonprofit
Okay.
group. I couldn't even tell you how he got connected with them, but he
Yeah.
was sitting on their
Somehow I
board,
did.
and he's
Yeah.
like, "Hey, there's this awesome group in town. I wanna get you connected with them, like, they are kind of rooted around, like, water sports in the
Yep.
outdoors." And I was like, "Dude,
Yep.
amazing, like, that like, please."
Yeah.
And so I met the 2 founders, and we went out on the lake and just kinda shared the heart behind it,
Yeah.
and then, kind of slowly got more exposed and, started helping them with
Right.
some of their summer activities. But the basis of what the organization is, they serve, the Edge Hill community. They
Mhm.
work with, kids pretty much, gosh, I couldn't put a actual pin on the youngest, but, like, maybe, like, 6 or 7 all
Mhm.
the way through high school.
Okay.
Um, and so part of what their whole thing is, like, keeping these kids out of those kinda dangerous
Yeah.
communities,
It
and then
almost gives them a sense of
yeah,
purpose
giving
outside of what they may already do.
exactly.
Mhm.
Helping them through school,
Yeah.
like, helping them be resources for their families,
That's beautiful,
providing
dude.
basic needs,
That's so cool,
tutoring,
man.
counseling, financial literacy,
Mhm.
and then the biggest thing is really, like, learning through the outdoors. So
Mhm.
that's, like, one of their 5 pillars,
Okay.
and so that's kinda where I came in, is it was, like, helping them with their water sports
That's
program.
cool.
And the cool full circle moment was really, like, getting out on the lake with these kids
Yeah.
who, I mean, they've some of them have never seen a lake before. Some
Oh, for sure.
they've had to teach them how to swim,
Dang,
got them on a
bro.
boat for the first time, and then, for me, like, back to what I was talking about, how growing up on the water and all of
Yep.
these, like, very foundational experiences that I had growing up that
Yeah.
I took for granted as far as, like, how fortunate I was to get
Mhm.
to do those things, but to then get to turn around and experience that with these other kids,
Yeah.
and then get to wakeboard and to do all these things for them that like, you could just see, like, the gears start churning and the
Yeah.
dots connecting and just, like, like, creativity that was just going off in their head about, like, just the possibilities within life.
Right.
And it's been so cool, kind of growing within the organization. I
Yeah.
joined their board last year,
Okay.
and so just kind of, like, helping them, with their reach. And,
Yeah.
a lot of it is it's fundraising. They rely heavily on it, being a nonprofit, supporting, these kids, a lot of them, what's really, really cool. So when the kids mature through their program, they turn
Mhm.
15, they actually turn and then employ the kids.
No
And
way.
so they paid them, I think it's like $15 an hour, which
Okay.
again helps support their families.
Okay.
But then what they do is they teach them, a lot of leadership and things like that, where then they're kind of mentoring the younger kids.
Wow.
So then they've created this like
Created like a
whole
cycle. Yeah, an
ecosystem
ecosystem. Yeah,
for
yeah, yeah.
what, what they can do to really change these kids' lives. And it's
Dang.
been really cool to use like water sports as a vessel
Mhm.
for that.
Yep.
And so, yeah, incredible organization, Clint, Banny, like
Mhm.
the incredible team of people there that,
Dang, dude.
just heart of gold, just helping these people that, in some ways, like, are kind of voiceless, and
Yeah.
who knows the trajectory for their lives. So
Dang, bro.
being able to like find that has really kind of brought, and like again, like wakeboarding would be something, water sports would be something that like I pursue for
Yeah.
my whole life, but
Yeah.
then they kind
Right.
of have like a deeper meaning to like getting to share those experiences with other people is like, I mean, it's the coolest thing.
And one, it's so cool to hear you like how passionate you are about it. Like, and it's just it's so wild how like full circle life becomes when you don't even realize it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
and even talking, you talk about like your current role and how it's not what you thought you were going to be doing, but
Yeah.
the fulfillment you find in it.
Mhm.
Man, I love it. You got anything else you want to add? Well, like we could. I mean, we've been talking for 2 hours,
Crazy.
and which is just the nature of how these episodes go.
Yeah.
And we I feel like there's about 90% of things we didn't even get into. Um, but man, it's been an honor to have you on.
I appreciate you
But
having
the
me.
beautiful thing about us not talking about everything is means you have to come back to do another episode.
I guess.
But
I
man,
guess so.
Doc, I appreciate it.
Of
Thank you
course,
so much
man.
for sharing some of your
Thanks for
story
having
and
me.
for coming on. It's been another episode of Deepish. We'll see you next week. Well, that was my conversation with my friend, Dr. Cody Prizer. And I hope you guys enjoyed that one. Really, really a fun conversation for me to have. I love Cody. Special conversation for me to get to have with him as, he's getting ready to be a parent and talking, about so much of life and his journey. And now as he's entering the journey of parenting and, a journey that I started 8 years ago. And, parenting is so wild because you just, I think one thing, and I maybe have said this on here before, either in an episode or an introduction, I probably have. I've repeat myself a lot probably at this point in time. So if you listen, thanks for listening to me repeat myself. But parenting's weird because every season changes so rapidly and you don't realize that like the heart of each season is so different. And anyways, that's probably a conversation for an actual episode, not an intro or an outro. But as always, if you're a parent, just enjoy each season. Like it changes so fast, and it it just to enjoy it while each season change is happening, and learn to live in the moment as a parent because it will rapidly become a new season, and you'll be like, "What just happened? And where did?" Our baby Harvey's 4 months old, almost 5, and it's you blink and literally he was a newborn, just before Christmas at Christmas, and now he's almost 5 months old, and life happens quick. So, um, and I think that's probably a good principle for all of us, and is to remember how quick and rapidly life changes, and how quick and rapidly, um, our life can be altered. So, um, maybe this is a great way to close this episode, but uh, hug the ones you love because you just life just changes so fast. Tell people you love them, tell people you're proud of them, and how much they mean to you at all times. That's not parenting advice. That's just life advice. But that for an outro, that just got really somber really quick. So I'm sorry, but if you're enjoying the podcast, please make sure to like us on social media or follow us on social media. That's what I was trying to say. Deep Dot-ish podcast on TikTok, Instagram. Follow us on Facebook, and make sure to subscribe on all channels. Leave us a review. Leave us a comment. Whatever form or fashion you want to, give us 5-star reviews, and so we can keep bringing great episodes. And by we, I mean me. It's a weird dichotomy, but really, really enjoyed doing this and want to keep bringing great episodes to you all with great guests, and hope you enjoy it. And we will see you back next week for our next episode.